Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of What If Deku Became a Quirk Doctor? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. Your son is quirkless, I'm sorry, the doctor said. That statement shook me to my core. I dropped my All Might figurine that was in my hand and began tearing up. But little did I know that is how hell began for me. I looked over to my sister as she was jumping for joy as she was told that she got a quirk that was evolved from her parents that let her speed up and get extra strength. Dad and got a telekinesis quirk greater than mom's. Here is exactly how her quirk works. The doctor started, Izumi Midoriya, age 4, quirk, telepath strength. She can lift up to 10 tons but at 10 tons only for 3 seconds. She can lift 1 ton for 3 hours, 2 for 2.75 hours, 3 for 2.25, 4 for 1.5 hours, 5 for an hour, 6 for 35 minutes, 7 for 10 minutes, 8 for 1 minute, 9 for 35 seconds, and 10 for 3 seconds. I know the slope is all over the place, but that's what the reading says. The strength comes in with her ability to enhance her speed and strength by 2 for 1 hour or 5 for 5 minutes. She can only do 2 or 5 times stronger though, and this part of her quirk cannot be improved by training. By the time the doctor was done, Mom didn't care that I was crying or jealous of my little sister. All she cared about was how her daughter was gonna be a great hero. They celebrated together for a time, but after she came to me and asked if I was okay, I fake smiled and said I was fine and that they shouldn't worry about me. I was lying through my teeth and she seemed to notice. After she made sure I was feeling a little better, we left and said thanks to the doctor. When we got home, Dad asked, "Hey honey, what are the kids' quirks?" Mom replied, "Well, Izuku is quirkless and dash." Izumi cut her off and said, "I have a telepathy and strength enhancement quirk combined into one." Well, that's terrific, Izumi, but Izuku, how you holding up? Thanks to I'm feeling a bit better. Okay, well just hold on, okay? Okay. I went upstairs and was immediately disappointed. I knew that being a hero was almost definitely off the table. I listened to the radio I had in my room and heard about how Eraserhead had captured a villain. I can become a hero without a quirk. I can beat them up like Eraserhead, I thought. In the next month, I began to train hard. At the time I didn't notice it, but my parents began to neglect me and poured more attention to my sister. After working out for 2 weeks, I could do 30 push-ups, squats, mountain climbers, etc., run a quarter-kilometer nonstop and hold a plank for 15 seconds. Then I bought 5-pound body weights for my wrists and ankles, and a 10-pound vest. The rest of the month I worked to be able to do my workout in those clothes while still going to school in them. It was after the next month that my parents went full neglect mode. They didn't cook for me, wouldn't acknowledge my work, stopped helping me when I needed it, and wouldn't even talk to me. During this month, to realizing how strong she really was, Izumi and Kaken began to bully me. After the full neglect had started, I learned that I was gonna have to fend for myself. At first, I just ate leftovers, but then my parents got mad at me for eating their lunch for the next day. So then I started getting cheap chore jobs to buy myself cheap food from restaurants, clothes, and my weights. Time skip 5 months. Stop, Katen, I stated. Or what, Deku, he replied. I had just jumped in on a scene where Kaken was bullying a little girl. I couldn't stand him being mean to others just because he was stronger. So I rushed to protect the girl. She had black hair and had a ponytail. And her eyes were an onyx color. She had a shirt and some tan shorts on and was just looking around when Kaken decided to attack her. "I'll stop you," I replied. "Well, let's see it." Needless to say, I lost. But I still got a few punches in. I was now wearing 20 pounds of weight on each ankle and wrist and 30 pounds on my vest that was under my shirt. But I didn't know how to fight. After about 5 minutes of laying there, the girl asked if I was okay. "Yeah, I'm fine," I said, jumping up. "Okay, good. Thanks for what you did. My name is Momo Yaoyorozu," she said. "And my name is Yagi, but call me Izuku. I'm not the biggest fan of my last name," I stuttered. "Oh, I'm talking to a girl," I thought. "Okay, Izuku, thanks again. And do you want to be friends?" "Yes." "Sure," I said. "Okay, what dash," she started. Momo, it's time to go, a woman called. Oh, I'm coming, she replied, then turned to me and said, thanks again, see you later. With that, she ran off and I returned to my room to fix up my arms and face alone. Again. Time skip 10 years depression warning skip second paragraph if uncomfortable. In those 10 years, I trained endlessly. I currently am wearing 12 tons on my wrists and ankles, plus another 15 tons on my vest. I hid my strength so I don't PSS off Bakugo. I stopped calling him Kaken 3 years ago. At that time I had started to learn karate. I would later learn all sorts of taijutsu, but I was best at karate. Even though I was strong, all the neglect, torture and self-sacrifice had its toll on me. I was depressed and no longer showed emotion when bullied or harassed. But I didn't tell anyone, 'cause no one would listen. At that moment the teacher said, it's time you think about what you're gonna do in the future. Well, that doesn't matter, you all wanna be heroes, right? The whole class went wild with their quirks. Idiots. Settle down, you know you're breaking a law, right? Hey teach, don't lump me in with these extras. At best they'd end up as a sidekick to some D-lister. Izumi and Bakugo yelled, we're going to UA and you can't stop us. Then the whole class let off a small snarl. Got a problem, Izumi said. Yeah, Izumi and I passed all the mock tests and training courses for youth from UA, Bakugo finished. Okay. Wait, didn't you also apply for UA? Izuku, the teacher mocked. The whole class started laughing hysterically except for me, Bakugo, and my sister Izumi. You really think they would let a quirkless runt like you in keep dreaming, Deku, Bakugo stated. Yeah, you have no chance, Izumi said. This set me off. But I showed no emotion to their words and that got them even madder. When Izumi tried to pick me up with her telekinesis she couldn't and said, the hell nerd, why can't I pick you up? Never mind, I'll just deal with you the hard way. She zoomed over and punched me in the face. I faked getting hurt and moved with her punch, not wanting to draw attention. And this was because I had a surprise for them in the gym. Today was the last day of school, so we would take one last skills test to see where we were in the class. And today I was going to show them how good I really was. But before that Bakugo had the nerve to say, you know there is a way to get a quirk. My eyes slightly lit up at the prospect, but barely. Just take a swan dive off the roof, he started. And pray for a quirk in your next life, Izumi finished. Time skip gym class. All right, today we are having our gym class. First up, last test's winner Katsuki Bakugo. We'll start with the push-ups in 1 minute. Bakugo got 29, Izumi got 30, and the rest of the class got around. Okay, Izuku, you're up. Hey coach, mind if I take off my weights? Sure. I placed them down gently, but they still cracked and broke the floor. The whole class was in shock as to how the cement was now broken from some weights. Even the coach had his jaw on the floor. While they were staring, I got into position. Hey, you gonna start or what? I said. Oh yeah, sorry about that, he replied and started. For the first 30 seconds, I did nothing. Then I started doing my push-ups when the timer hit 30 seconds. Beep, 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 the timer sounded. Sheet only got 292 sheet, I said. Again, the whole class was shocked as I beat the record in Japan and the world, the previous record being pre-Quirk era and was 257 push-ups in 1 minute. How the hell did you do that, Deku? Bakugo screamed. Yeah, you're quirkless, Izumi replied. I interjected saying, if the whole class together can lift one of those weights, I'll tell you. You're on, they said. 10 minutes later. I can't lift it, Izumi said. Use your quirk, I dared. You can't lift it then either. After she tried, she wondered why she couldn't. I walked over and grabbed them all with just my pointer finger and thumb. Wow, you can't even lift something this light, yet you still think so lowly of me, I started. Each of these is 12 tons, the vest is 15 tons. These are the school weights I wear so I don't break the building when I'm out running, working out, or even just outside. I'm wearing twice that weight, and yes, I'm still quirkless. I've been working out like this since I got back from the Quirk examiner 10 years 7 months ago. I've been holding back since I was 6.5 from these exams, but seeing as this is the last one before UA, I thought I'd show you my real strength as a treat. And revenge. Izumi, Bakugo, the last time you hurt me with your bullying was 3 years ago. Since then I faked being hurt to stop drawing attention to myself. And since you all neglected me my whole life, you didn't look to see how much muscle I actually had. Thank you, now let's continue. I broke records for all of the tests. 4.15 seconds for the 50-meter dash, 67 meters for the long jump, 100 for the side steps, 115 meters for the ball throw. I broke the grip test 1-ton limit, 250 toe touches. That night when Izumi told Mom and Dad about what happened at the physical exam, they just laughed at the joke. But then after a while, Dad wanted to speak with Izumi and I listened in. I saw Dad turn into All Might, my hero, and said she should have his quirk because she deserved it. She accepted, and that was my breaking point. That night I wrote a letter saying, "Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Yagi, as well as my so-called sister. Well, first I'm surprised you're reading this since you haven't paid attention to me in over 10 years. But I should say All Might and Green Telic that you have had made my life a living hell. If you look over in my closet you will see bandages. You want to know who gave me those? Your daughter and Katsuki Bakugo. And yet you still want to give Izumi your quirk. Pathetic. Well, you know this, you've won. I tried getting ahead in school training to be strong to overcome my disadvantage of being quirkless, but you know what, that doesn't matter, does it? Just know that you no longer have a son. Your dead relative, Izuku." That night I was on my way to the school building and was looking down. At least this living hell will be over, I thought. But not too long before some middle-aged man stopped me. "Hey, Izuku. Don't do what you're about to do," he stated. I snapped up. "First, how do you know my name? Second, what do you mean what I'm about to do? I was just on a stroll. And finally, with what you're implying, what right do you have? You don't know what kind of hell I've lived. I know your name because I am God, but more commonly known as King," he started. "I know every human being on this planet and can view their memory as if it was my own. The only thing I can't control is who's getting a baby. That freedom was given to humans." Izuku laughed. "If you were God you wouldn't talk to me. I'm a quirkless kid, and wouldn't you be like glowing or something? I am God, I'll prove it," he said as he put his thumb on my forehead. He showed him how he created the earth, how he had lived, and watched each species live and die out. He showed him millions of years in just 0.5 of a second. "Okay, I believe you now. Why do you want to talk with me?" I sighed. "Well, I want you to come train with me. You have 10 months till the UA exams. In that time you will get 20 years of training if you come with me," he said. "But why me?" "Because you have lasted 10.5 years of bullying and neglect and still trained for your goal and even became strong enough to resist those tragedies. But then when someone had a way to give you what you lacked and you knew them, they decided to give it to someone who already had the power. You were pushed over the edge. I believe you are the strongest-willed person on this earth to ever live. One last thing, how will I get 20 years of training in 10 months? I will transport you to a realm that 2 years there is 1 month here. All right, let's get going." King opened a portal and looked at me. I nodded in response and walked through. When I walked through the portal, I was standing on a platform of glass floating in the sky. Down below there were 4 areas. One was a New York City in the pre-Quirk era with some building alterations. One was a forest with a village nearby. One was a small city block with a police station, a house, and a small forest not far outside it. Finally, the last was one that had an area with one huge building that was 250 stories high, and a small house next door. After I had looked for a bit, I turned around and looked into God's eyes and he asked, "You like what you see?" "Yeah." "Now let me get your trainers." He snaps and 8 figures appears behind him. "Hey King," all 8 figures say in unison. "Izuku, these are your trainers," King says. "What happened to him?" Figure 3 says. King proceeds to show them how badly he was treated for the last 10.5 years of his life and shows how much pain he was in. And how his own father betrayed him. "Sorry kid, that's rough, but we all have had our fair share of troubles, but yours takes the cake," Figure 7 states. "And I thought I had it rough," Figure 1 states. "Naruto Uzumaki, that's my name." Sasuke Uchiha, Figure 2 states. "Hi, I'm gone freaks," Figure 4 states. "Hey, I was supposed to go first. Anyway, Killua, nice to meet you," Figure 3 states. "Sorry, I was excited," Freaks replies. "Like Yagami," Figure 5 says. "L," says Figure 6, who is curled up. "Tony Stark," Figure 7 states. "Peter Parker," Figure 8 states. "Okay King, who's starting?" Yagami asks. "You and L will teach him what you can about strategy. You're the best I know," King starts. "Once he learns strategy he will go to Gon and Killua to learn how to fight and fight with Nin. Also no need to teach him the strength. He's wearing 63 tons of weight right now. After that is over, you will head to Sasuke and Naruto to learn about chakra and turn that into elemental energy. Finally, you will end with Stark and Peter here, who will teach you about gadgets so you can make your own equipment. Also, call everyone by their first name except for Stark. Izuku, King explained. Alright Izuku, follow me, Light states. They arrive at the small city block area and Light begins his story about how he got the Death Note. After his explanation, he told me how he needed to learn how to make traps and countless false leads to avoid suspicion if he was being hunted. Next, it was L's turn to explain. He explained how he hunted down Light Yagami and why he lost. He said that if you are the hunter, you must look past all the false leads and always make sure to be suspicious if you're the hunter. He also said that even the proven innocent can be guilty, so always be aware. After they're done explaining and Izuku his questions, they explain the plan for his training path and how he will learn to strategize moves better than anyone else in his world. Year 1. Izuku learns from Light how to set up multiple false leads in one move to avert the blame away from him during the first 6 months. The rest of the year, L taught him how to follow all the leads at once to find the real culprit and how to strategize if you need to separate men to find the culprit. Year 2 and 3 Light took the next 2 years to teach Izuku how to make traps for your opponent to fall into, how to locate hidden security details, and how to find blind spots in his second year. In his third year, Light taught him how to make simple security traps so people won't find things he's hiding. He then taught him how to put multiple layers within a small space so that way only one way it can be found, while a wrong attempt would open up a perfectly safe area, allowing them to search the area without suspicion. Year 4 and 5 Now it was L's turn to teach Izuku how to be the hunter in a game of cat and mouse. In the fourth year, he taught him how to analyze the unanalyzable. He taught him how to learn identities based on their 2 cents and how they do things. In the fifth year with Light and L, he was taught how to narrow down a search strategically using their emotions and areas against them. He also told them how to distinguish if a new player comes into view based on slight differences in how they act. Fifth year's end. Izuku had said his thanks to Light and L and told them how helpful they have been. On his last day, King appeared and took L and Light to their afterlife to live out the rest of their days. God explained how he would not get a death note or have to be in a cat and mouse that often, but to learn from them in order to make foolproof plans to stop villains who would attack them. After the explanations and the goodbyes, King took Izuku to the tower area and met Gon and Killua there. Gon and Killua. After going to the tower area, I met Gon and Killua, who were here to teach me about an inner aura that we all have and that I can unlock. As soon as they said that, I was hit in the back and suddenly a white mist was surrounding me. Now imagine that steam circling calmly around your body, Killua shared. I closed my eyes and imagined the sensation of the white mist circling my body calmly and slowly. Afterward, I opened my eyes to see the aura doing just what I imagined. Killua and Gon both shared how Nin works and how this is stage 1 of 4 for the basics. Year 1. In my first year with Gon and Killua, I was told how to use Ten, Zetsu, Ren, and Hatsu. After a month I learned and mastered Ten and Zetsu. After that, it took me a few months to master Ren and Gyo. After I did though, I moved up to see what Hatsu I had, and I guess I'm an enhancer like Gon. Year 2 and 3. During my second year with Gon and Killua, I learned things like Ko and Ken, as well as how to put my aura into objects to increase the speed of using things. During my third year, I was taught Ryu and better focus on my Nen into one spot. I then learned how to use my speed to overpower opponents, and I got far enough ahead. Killua taught me how to use the rhythm step. Year 4 and 5. After that training, Gon and Killua said I should learn to make my own technique that would fit me for my Nen. In the first month of my training, I decided that I wanted to learn how to enhance my speed and strength with my Nen, as well as enhance my natural defenses, since I'm well trained in strength and combat. For the rest of my fourth year, I learned what I call full cowling. I use my aura to enhance my body and power it up to the extreme. At 100% use of my aura, my speed could take me from one end of Japan to the other in 3 minutes. During my fifth year, I focused on learning basic attacks and how to hold back my percentage of power in Nen so I wouldn't cause too much damage, as well as how to power up certain parts of my body higher than the rest. End of training. These 5 years have been great, and thanks to my brother Killua and Gon, I now can fight with Nen and have learned how to increase my strength tenfold. As it was time to leave, I said goodbye through tears, as I had grown really close with them these last few years. I said thanks and that I will forever be in their debt for their kindness, which Gon and Killua replied with just beat my dads, but when I go home, and I agreed. Real world. Because of the neglect, Inko and Toshinori haven't found the letter yet from Izuku that he left 5 months ago, but then Mitsuki came over and asked how Izuku and Izumi were, and they said that Izumi was doing fine and that they didn't know how Izuku was. Then it dawned on both of the parents how bad of parents they were. Inko started crying, stating, "I've been a terrible mother, I don't even remember what Izuku has looked like since he was 4. Then Toshi started to go upstairs to Izuku's room to see how he was. Only to find an empty room that smelled of rotted blood and terrible wall damage and a note on his desk. "Inko, come up here now, we have a serious problem about Izuku and Izumi," Toshinori calls. After they read the note and Mitsuki came and saw it, she hit both of them in the head and called them trash, and that if they ever find the boy, don't expect him to forgive them. Right afterward she went home and gave the beating of a lifetime to Katsuki for his bullying. When Izumi went home, Toshi and Inko were both sad at Izumi. She was shown the letter and was given a beating for bullying his brother and then acting like a saint in front of them. "Why, it's not like you cared about him for 10 years, she said. "And we have both accepted the punishment and have decided to look for him till we find him dead or alive," they responded. They got the police on the phone and told them everything, including how they neglected their son for years. Detective Tsukachi was said with them and decided to help them look and told them that they no longer held the right to call Izuku their child or be their parent. Naruto and Sasuke told them about their world, the Fourth Great Ninja War, and how chakra works. He told them the reason it's not found on your realm is that there is no divine tree, because if there was they would have had a connection to nature, giving BRH to being able to manipulate the spiritual energy of chakra. In order to teach Izuku chakra, they both gave him a bit of both of their chakra. When this happened, they gave him the chakra testing paper to see what style he would use, and as it turns out he had a knack for wind and lighting style but no Kekkei Genkai with a mix of those two. However, he also had a full 3-tomo Sharingan and a chakra pool almost as big as Naruto's. Year 1. Naruto and Sasuke both teach Naruto basic jutsu, those being transformation jutsu, shadow clone jutsu, tried clone jutsu but could never get it right, and summoning jutsu. He had made a contract with the Toads because the Toads actually wanted Izuku to call them, while the Snakes and Hawks didn't really want to do with Izuku. Izuku also managed to be able to summon Gamakichi and Gamakatsu, and they do listen to Izuku. He also learned how to fully use the 3-tomo Sharingan to the best of its ability to dodge and counter. Year 2 and 3. During the second year with Naruto and Sasuke, Izuku trained during this time with Sasuke and was given the EMS Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and was taught how to use the Susanoo to its greatest form. He was also taught how to use a sword and lightning, basic lightning style juts. During the third year, he was taught how to use Chidori and Sasuke's ability to make it go through his sword or throughout the ground. He was also taught how to use the other abilities of his EMS, which were Kamui and Amaterasu. Finally, he learned from Sasuke how to control his Amaterasu using the fire control style that Sasuke uses. Year 4 and 5. During his fourth year, Naruto taught Izuku the rest of the basics, walking on water, climbing trees, and so on. He was then taught the Rasengan from Naruto, which took him 3 months to master. He also learned the Gale Palm technique, and he learned flying regime. During his last year, Naruto had taught Izuku Sage Mode and his CC Jutsu. This took 10 months for him to learn, and time was almost up, but he decided to try and use Sage Jutsu and Susanoo at the same time, and at the very end of his 12 months he mastered it. Izuku had said goodbye to Naruto and Sasuke, who were almost like fathers he never had to them. They both were great and he was really gonna miss them. Right before he left, both Naruto and Sasuke had one last thing to tell him, and that was, when you go back, prove the world wrong. Real world. Officer Tsukachi was still beyond mad at Toshinori and Inko for neglecting their son. He reminded All Might that he himself was once quirkless and should have made sure he was doing alright, since he has it worse than All Might, because even fewer people are quirkless now, so he had to bear a worse pain than Toshinori did when he was Izuku's age. When UA found out the salaries of both heroes were cut in half and they were both suspended for 1 week to learn that they shouldn't disrespect their kid. It has now been 2.5 months and still no sign of the body, so the police are now wondering if it was not suicide and was him running away. They then concluded it was a runaway because there was nobody and their dead son meant they were dead to Izuku now. Peter Parker and Tony Stark. Okay kid, I'm here to teach you how to make your own gadgets for your own good, and how to understand how everything works, Stark said. Okay Mr. Stark, I replied. And I'm here to help you after Mr. Stark's lecture and help you with chemistry so you can make your own compounds, Peter said. Years 1 to 5. The whole time he was there, Stark and Peter lectured him on how the machinery works and how to make his own compounds with chemicals from Parker. By the time he was done, he had created a laser sword, pretty much a lightsaber just shaped into a sword shape instead, made his own compound of metal alloy for a capture gear shaped like a cape that could extend to 50 meters, and was stronger than Eraserhead's, and his own hero costume. Doesn't have a helmet, just has his mouthguard thing like in the anime, and manga also has a green cape on the back. Time to go back. After his goodbyes with Stark and Peter, he is brought back up to the glass pillar where he met all 8 of them and had the best 20 years of his life. Now before we go back, I have some gifts for you from each of your mentors plus a one from me, King stated. Really? Yes. He replied, yes. Now from Light you were given the pen that he used at the start of his journey, from L you were given a new name, Izuku Lunar. At this Izuku began to cry. He was so happy he didn't have to be known by his abusive family now. After Izuku recovered, King continued, from Gon, you were given a ring from Greed Island, from Killua you were given a hunter's license from their world, from Naruto, he gave you a ninja headband, and Sasuke gave you a sword made of chakra metal, Asuma's hand kunai's metal. From Peter, you were given a box of bracelets that will let you communicate with anyone whose bracelet you're wearing, however you can only use one once per day. And finally Mr. Stark gave you a mansion not far out from Mizudafu, Japan on the cliffside with a Lamborghini Aventador, a Rolls-Royce Cullinan, all paid off with a driver's license for you. After hearing all this he was so thankful and asked the king if he would give them all a letter that he wrote to each of them personally thanking them, and the king agreed. Now Izuku, I am sorry for everything that you were put through as a child, and now I would like to give you a quirk. This quirk will allow you to heal from the brink of death in seconds and heal others from the brink of death in seconds. The drawback is that the bigger the injury, the longer the wait. Life-threatening can use once every 48 hours, life-threatening but not brink of death every 24 hours, severe damage non-life-threatening every 18 hours, a broken bone or 2 every 20 minutes, and finally minor damage no wait. Also you will be given a debit card that will deposit 1 million yen into its account on the 1st of every month, and all the bills will be paid without using the money deposited to your account that will be covered by yours truly, King states. Izuku just stares at King, not believing a word he says, then responds thanking him for 30 minutes straight for everything and that he doesn't deserve this. Just one favor though, King says, interrupting Izuku. Kick All Might's butt. Gladly. I have been dropped off at my new house thanks to Mr. Stark. The drive from here to Mizudafu is about 10 minutes and it's a 30-minute drive to UA. But this is just how I like it, isolated, so I don't have to worry about other people ruin it. I submitted my registration to UA the day I got here and the exam is in 3 days. I wrote down my actual quirk, not telling them about my nen or chakra yet. I took my lumbo and decided to hit up Uncle Shoto to tell him how I was doing. I was unaware of the search going on for me, so I figured my parents still didn't know I was missing. Time skip Uncle Shoto's apartment. I rung the doorbell and knocked on the door and waited for a bit. He should be awake now, it's 12 p.m. He usually gets up around 11, so I should be good, I think. When the door opens his eyes widen for a sec. I say, hey Uncle Dash. I was cut off by a hug. You know you've been missing for 5 months now, right? I reply, actually it's been 10 months, they just didn't notice till 5 months ago. Those Demon Biestas, how do they not know their kid has been missing for months? Aizawa's POV. I just finished getting ready for the day and had breakfast when I heard someone at the door. I opened it to find my nephew who's been missing for 5 months right in front of me. As soon as I hear him say hi, I knew it was him and gave him a big hug. When I told him he was missing for 5 months, he said it was 10, but they didn't know until 5 months later. At which point I was said, how did they not notice one of their children missing for 5 months? I then invited him inside and we got talking and he told me how he went and trained for 20 years in a different world that was only 10 months in this one, meaning that 2 years on that planet was 1 month here, 365 days is 15 days there. So kid, where are you staying now? "Oh, want me to show you," he says. "Sure, I need to get out of here sooner or later." "Great, well then text Midnight and Nizu and Mike to meet at this address and I'll take you there in my ride." "What ride?" I ask, confused as to what he meant. He pulls out Lamborghini car keys and then a license to drive and takes me to see this beauty of a car, and he unlocks it and says to hop in the passenger seat. I hop in and ask where he got the money, and he said it was a gift from Mr. Stark. After about 20 minutes we have been outside of Mizudafu for about 10 minutes, he pulls into a secluded road and drives in to see his massive house. "Goddamn," I say. "I know it's too much, but it is better than living with my parents. So are you planning on signing up for UA?" "Already. But I didn't see your name." "Ah, right, I forgot I legally changed my name to Izuku Lunar." "Oh, I did see that one, so you have a healing quirk. That is my only quirk, yes. Good luck against those robots." "Those won't be a problem." "How?" "The what and what?" I ask. "You'll find out on Tuesday when we take the practical exam." Just then Midnight, Nizu, and Mike pull up to the house, not sure if it's the right one. Izuku asked, "You mind bringing them in? I want to surprise them." "Sure," I replied. "Just bring them to the dining hall," he calls out. "Okay," I reply. "Hey Namuri, Nizu, Hizashi," I call out to them and call them inside. "Wodu didn't know you were loaded," Hizashi says. "Yeah, aren't you an underground hero?" "Miss. With your current wages, there should be no way you got enough for the Rolls-Royce, Lamborghini, and the house," Nizu remarks. "No, this isn't mine, it's a friend of mine's," I say. "Whoa, that's hot," Midnight says. "He's underage," I reply. "Then how'd they score this?" Hizashi asks. "I don't know, ask him yourself," I reply. "Now let's get going, he's waiting in the dining room." "Izuku Lunar, I've got the guests," I say. "Great. Now why does that voice sound familiar?" Hizashi asks. "No way," says Midnight. Then all four of them walk in and see Izuku sitting making some tea. They blink a few times and rub their eyes to make sure it's not a dream. "Well, sit down, I'll bring you all some tea." "Where have you been the past 5 months?" Nizu asks. 10, and I'll tell you over tea, that's why I asked you guys to come," Izuku replies. "I had the same reaction when he came to my apartment," I said. "Wait, how long have you known?" asks Midnight. "I knew 32 minutes 15 seconds before I texted you to meet at his place," I respond. "Wait, you said 10 months, Izuku, why?" Nizu asked. "I ran away 10 months ago, but my parents didn't notice till 5 months ago, that's how badly they neglected me." Hizashi, Nizu, and Midnight all choke on the tea. "Wait, what?" they all respond. "Alright, I'm about to tell you a long story that starts 10 months ago and 2 weeks earlier in this dimension." After explaining the past 2 chapters. Izuku's POV. "So that's my story," Izuku said. "So wait, you haven't seen us in over 21 years, Midnight asks. "So will you explain this whole chakra and nin thing?" Nizu starts, "Because it seems interesting." "Yes, however he'll do that after the entrance exam," Aizawa reply. "But SBMSN time ended," Hizashi said. "And I already put my form in." "But I never saw it," Nizu states. "You didn't see in Izuku Lunar." "I saw that one," all 3 replied. "Then you saw me," I said. "Before you say anything, just look at this." I handed over the legal name change papers and it had all the requirements. They were all in shock that I changed my last name. "How did you pull it off?" they all asked. "Again, it was a gift from one of my senseis," I reply. "Oh," Hizashi replies. "Is there any other changes we should be aware of?" "There's 2 more things that you should be aware of, and it's this," I said, pulling out my driver's license, "and I also already have a college level of skill in English, maths, science, and history." "Another curveball," Midnight says. "Indeed," replies Nizu. "Well, I guess then we'll be off," Nizu states. "Before you go, promise you won't tell Mr. and Mrs. Yagi," I ask. "Deal," they all say. "Alright kid, I guess I gotta go too," Aizawa says. "Okay, here." He throws me the limbo keys. "You can use it till Tuesday," I say. Time skip entrance exam. I got here and I must admit I was a bit disappointed at how easy the written exam was. I finished in 10 minutes and checked for the next minute before turning in my packet and walked out as Aizawa was walking in. "Shouldn't you be examining?" "Yes." "I finished," I replied. Oh okay. Aizawa nods and goes to work. Time skip to present Mick's interruption. I have a question, sir. A blue-haired kid states, on the packet it says there are 4 robots left and on the screen, it says there are only 3. Also, the green-haired boy in the back, why are you sleeping now? If you are here to screw around then you should leave. I was said so. I replied, if you read the goddamn packet you would have noticed it is a 0-pointer and is just an obstacle, no need to fight it. And Uncle Mike was just about to explain that. Also, if you have enough time to check if I'm asleep or not then you are also not paying attention, so take that stick up your butt out and sit down. He instantly sat down in shame and embarrassment, knowing the kid was full well telling the truth. After President Mike explained the 0-pointers again, we were moved to city blocks. I was put in block C. I saw the blue-haired boy in my group but also my lovely sister. Sheet, I muttered. Just then I saw the door open and I immediately start crushing robots. After 10 minutes I decide to stop, knowing full well I got in with 207 villain points. After another hour of chilling I heard a rumble and saw the 0-pointers heading into the mock city, and I wasn't gonna do anything, but then I saw someone trapped underneath the rubble and the 0-pointers were about to crush her, and everyone else was just running away, so I jumped up in Sage mode, massive Rasengan barraged the robot till all that was left was scraps of wire from the robot that didn't get destroyed. 2 days later I got a letter from UA and it had All Might on it and he said, congrats young Lunar on passing the exams. Your total points were 257, getting 50 points for your heroic practice to save the girl in danger. The heroic points you got were a secret point system given by judges for heroic actions during the exams. So I got in. What else is new, I thought. The next few days before UA started were uneventful. I got up, explored the city, or went shopping for clothes, and went home. Alright, time to head to school. I took the keys to the Rolls-Royce and headed to school. When I went to the parking lot I got a lot of stares from the students and teachers. Then out of nowhere one student started chanting, then the rest of the students joined chanting. Daddy's money clap 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 calp, they said X5. My dad neglected and didn't know I ran away till 5 months after my disappearance, so no, this is not his money, and my mom did the same, I said. Liar, the original figure said. I teleported behind him. My name is Izuku Lunar X, known as Izuku Yagi. Do you believe me now? Look at the missing person file when you can. I'll be in class 1A, by the way. That's a nice quirk, I'll just use it myself, he started. My name's Nido Monoma. Wait, you have a healing quirk, so how'd you teleport? I didn't. But then how you don't have a speed quirk? Training. Whatever, I'll still be better than you, class 1 a scum. When I went inside I headed to my class, or at least I thought I did. Turns out the school is even bigger than it looks. And the school is at least 5 times bigger than my estate. I ended up in class 3A instead of 1A, and there I met 3 kids who were friends but had completely different personalities. One was antisocial, one had no filter and would rapid-fire questions, and one would just try and crack jokes and have a fun conversation. I later learned they were the top 3 students in UA so far. The antisocial one was named Tamaki Amajiki, the no-filter girl was named Nijire Hado, and the jokester was named Mirio Togata. They showed me how to get to class, and right before I walked in I heard, "Shut up for eyes. That is very disrespectful to this school, so take your feet off the desk." I opened the door, immediately recognizing those 2 as Bakugo and the blue-haired kid from the exam. I looked around and saw the girl I rescued, and finally, I saw a girl with a ponytail and onyx eyes with a bang off the side of her hair. She looked familiar, but I don't remember why. She spotted me and started to stare at me in confusion as well. Then I saw my sister. I looked away immediately after seeing her. I was starting to head to my seat, but then the blue-haired kid walked up to me. He started, "Hello, my name is Tenya Ida. I'm sorry for my behavior at the entrance exam. I didn't even notice that there might be a secret part of the exam, but you figure dash. No, I didn't know about that part of the exam. I just saw someone who needed help and helped them," I said. I walked away and sat down near the back next to the girl that looked familiar. "Do I know you?" I asked the girl. "You look familiar, but I don't think I've met you, but then again I was away from this world for 20 years. You look familiar dash. Wait, what do you mean 20 years? You couldn't have gotten in here if you're over the age of 18. Oh yeah, sorry, I went to a pocket dimension where 20 years in that world is 10 months in this world. I was taken via a villain BT then dash. Hey, you calling me a villain, kid? King said. Wait, how'd you get here? Wait, never mindy or a god so I guess ikangani were. Muttering intensifies. Kid, you gotta watch your muttering, King said. Wait, what do you mean god? The girl said. And what do you mean villain? And nothing, I said. With that, King disappeared, sending her into chaos. She looked so confused trying to figure everything out while still acting prim and proper. Wait, no, it couldn't be. Momo. Wait, is your name Momo Yaoyorozu? Yes, wait, how do you know? Yes. Sorry, let me reintroduce myself. The name is Izuku Lunar, I start. I was there the day Bakugo was harassing you and I stopped him by being his punching bag. No way it's you, she said. Yup, I said. Just then Bakugo looked at the class spying out the competition. Then looked back at me, then heard what I said. Deku, he said. Izumi turned her head. What do you want, Bakugo? I reply. How the f did a quirkless beach such as yourself get in? With this, the whole class started looking at me weirdly, except for the girl I saved and Momo. Then the whole class started to ask questions. Rasengan, I say, do I look quirkless, Bakugo? I know it's been 20 years but still. Wait, 20 years, the class exclaimed. Sorry, I meant 10 months, but it's been 20 years for me, I start. Also, Bakugo, you couldn't even lift my weights 20 years ago. What makes you think you can lift mine now? I can do it, he said. No, you can't. Back then I was wearing 12 tons on each wrist and ankle and 15 tons on my vest. Now I'm wearing 45 tons on each wrist and ankle and 52 tons on my vest. In fact, right now I'm moving my feet so fast the floor can't realize the weight I'm wearing so I don't fall through the floor. Show off. You started it. The whole class looks in awe at me, realizing how much weight I'm wearing. They then realized how fast I must be moving to stop from falling through the floor. So manly, you'll have to tell me how you train, a student says. Oh yeah, my name is Ijiro Kirishima. Isn't it illegal to use your quirk in public? Ida asks. I haven't shown anyone my quirk. My quirk is Heal Pulse. It lets me instantaneously heal someone even if they're on the brink of death. The drawback is the more serious the injury, the longer the cooldown, I state. So then what was that orb you made? A blonde asked. My name is Denki Kaminari. That was the energy I pulled from myself to create that orb, as you called it. Well, actually it's actually called a Rasengan, but anyways, I can also use the electrical energy here and wind energy and combine it with my own to create other moves, I state. And no, that is not a quirk. Just then Izumi manages to snap out of her confusion. She starts to look depressed. It's funny, really. Then she manages to speak up. I is T that really you BB brother, she cries. Yagi, I'm not your brother. I have not been for over 20 years, I reply. No, she wails. Oh, Deku, look what you did to your sister. She's crying now. Bakugo attacks me. Does a sister bully her brother? Does a best friend? Does a sister tell you to commit suicide? Does a sister make your life a living hell? Oh, and what about parents? Do they neglect you for 10.5 because of a disadvantage? Do parents whoop you for eating food in the fridge, 'cause you weren't allowed to eat dinner with them? Do parents make you eat out of the dumpster? Silence, you're silent now. At this revelation, they all look at Izumi and Bakugo with disgust. They then ask if I'm okay, and then introduce themselves. I reply that it was a lifetime ago, so I'm doing just fine. While they're surrounding me, Bakugo and Izumi just hang their heads in defeat. They might feel bad about what they did now. I doubt they will after a week. Just then Todoroki asked, wait, what did you mean 20 years ago? Yeah, the rest of them ask. I then explain how 10 months ago I ran away and found a man who was named King. He brought me to a pocket dimension from his quirk, and there he and him alone trained me for 20 years because 2 years in that dimension is 1 month in the real world. So in the past 10 months, you had 20 years of training? Kirishima's. Yup, I reply, but before you say that's unfair, just know I thought I was quirkless before him and then we found out I had one, but before I was bullied, abused, neglected, and tortured, all this while training to be the first quirkless hero. When I left I could max lift 20 tons and ran 50 kilometers in 1 hour. I was also capable of doing 1,000 push-ups in 2 minutes. And that's why I could go, because I was able to push myself farther than any quirk hero. Nah, I wouldn't say it's unfair, put Dan. I need you to train me. I can barely bench 300 pounds and that's with my hardening, Kirishima replies. At this Aizawa sensei entered the room and was in a sleeping bag scaring some of the students. If you're here to make friends then you should leave, Aizawa states. It took you 8 seconds to shut up, we need to work on that, Aizawa sensei says. Really, Uncle Sho, do you have to be so mean? But yes, now you really need to be quiet, he replied. One thing first, how was my lumbo? Was it to your liking? I know you've always wanted to try out a sports car, I say. It was fun, now shut up or I'll expel you. Duh. Good, now everyone put on these and meet me outside for your quirk assessment exam, Uncle Shoyuta said. But what about orientation? Yarkus. To have our hero course we remove parts of the school program that are deemed unnecessary, therefore you will be missing orientation, Aizawa explains. In the locker rooms. Yo Lunar bro, you're ripped, eyes Kirishima. Yeah, how the hell did you manage to get a 0.8 pack at age 14? Kaminari S. Again, each of my wrists and ankles has 45 tons or 90,000 pounds on each leg, as well as my vest that I'm holding has 104,000 pounds of weight, I say. Oh yeah, they both sigh. On the other side, the girls all heard about Izuku's 8-pack and immediately started blushing. Just thinking about the green mop had them all their faces hot. After realizing what they were all doing, they immediately began rushing and got ready to see all the boys outside waiting. Now that you're all here, let's get started, Aizawa states. While this was going down, Telic and All Might began to head out to Aizawa's practice field to see the Lunar kids see what he did to get such a high amount of points. When they arrived, a green-haired kid walked up to a circle for the ball throw. I then asked, can I do 2 throws, 1 quirkless, 1 with my abilities? Fine, but your first throw is quirkless, Aizawa replied. Both Inko and Toshinori, confused, was wondering why a kid wanted to throw the ball quirkless but was ready to watch anyway. Okay, but first I'm taking these off, I say. There was a crater around each of his weights when he placed them all on the ground. Do you have to show off? Bakugoes. I didn't mean to make the craters, I forgot how weak the ground is, it's not my fault they're 45 tons each, I reply. Young man, you realize it is illegal to use your quirk unless specifically allowed or until you get a license, All Might says. No way, All Might, everyone but Bakugo, Izumi and I say. Mr. Yagi, if you looked at my registration form then you would know my quirk is an A-ranked healing quirk, not a strength quirk. Also, if it was a quirk then Aizawa here would have erased it when he told us all to shut up, erasing all our quirks, I reply. Well, young man, how do you know my real name? Almighty. How could I forget the man who was my father from ages 0 to 4, I state. My baby, Telic cries. I haven't been your son in 30 years, I say, dodging her hug. How dare you treat your mother that way, All Might says. You stopped being my parents when you wouldn't let me eat with you all, and made me buy everything for myself except for the bills for the house and that come with the house, I say. My baby, where have you been the past 5 months, Telic cries. I left that hellhole 10 months ago, but clearly you don't care. If it took you half the time I was gone to realize, that just proves that you don't care. I coldly reply. Izuku, you will return with us after school today. All Might. Shut up and deflate already, Mr. Yagi, I'm not your son, I've legally changed my name, I legally own my own estate and I legally can drive, my car is in the parking lot, I say, pulling out my keys and license and toss them to him to inspect. You lie, you are not rich enough to own a Rolls-Royce car, All Might says. That was a gift from someone more of a dad than yo, his name was Mr. Stark, I reply. Also, my son, how did you get a license? You're not supposed to be able to start learning till you're 18, he claims. For your information, could be technically be considered 35 years old. I was training in a pocket dimension where 2 years in that world is 1 month in this world, I say. Also, you keep trying to call me your son, yet you couldn't even recognize me till I told you who I was, so how's that for irony? I will never be your son again, but might. The whole class sneered at the two, realizing the truth behind Izuku's words. All Might, Telic, shut up or leave, you're interrupting my class, Aizawa intervenes. Tisk, fine, All Might mutters. All right, now for my quirkless throw, I say, throwing the ball. Infinity, the device says. Well, looks like I won't need to use my quirk, I say. After my demo, he started doing all the activities again. In the grip test, Broke the machine without using nen or chakra. For the 50-meter dash, got the top score of 0.012 seconds without any help. In the repeated side steps, I got 80,000 steps. In the long jump, won again getting 2 kilometers. The sit-ups, I got 3,000 before being told to stop, etc. Now it was time for the real ball throw, and I was up. The current best was Ochako Uraraka, who got infinity. I was about to throw the ball when Aizawa said, "Throw it without holding back or you're expelled." "I can't," I replied. "And why not?" I pointed to you. "I don't want to level the school, possibly killing and most definitely injuring some of the students." "Why, a right nerd like you could do that. The school is over 5 kilometers away," he said. "I thought it was farther," I replied. "What do you mean?" "Bizos. When I go all out with 100% of all my powers, I create a crater usually about 10 kilometers deep and 50 kilometers in diameter. On average, my biggest, though, was made 12 kilometers deep and 62 kilometers wide," I explain. "Okay, then hold back so you won't break or injure anyone, but go out enough to the point where it almost happens," he replies. "Fine if you really want to, but if I do, then go back with the students so I can make the biggest possible boom," I say. He grins and walks away. All Might thought I was bluffing and decided to walk up and watch from where Aizawa would have been. "You know I don't care enough about you to hold back, so if you stand there and get hurt, it's not my fault, All Might," I say without looking back. "Like you could," he replies. "Your funeral," I said. I throw the ball with a full cowl of 1% and I create sonic booms as well as break the speed of light barrier. When I look around, there is a crater that stopped at the edge of the nearest student's foot tips a millimeter more, and I would have destroyed his shoes. After about 3 minutes, when everyone but All Might recovered, they looked in awe as I was in a hole about 10 deep, and then they looked and say that if it had gone, even their shoes would have been caught in the mess. "I told you, but Might," I say. He deflates and coughs, then said, "How? And how much did you hold back?" "I used 1% of my Nin Zero chakra and 100% of my quirkless strength," I reply. "That much, huh? Maybe you actually could have leveled UA with full strength." "Yeah, that's not a question. What is though is if I would have obliterated the glass into atoms again or not," I reply. Okay, problem child. Now let me bring up the results," Aizawa says while sliding down the crater. The class follows, but Kaminari, Jairu, Hagakure, and Momo trip. I jumped up and caught them all, throwing Kaminari and Hagakure on my shoulders, and carry Jairu and Momo bridal style down to the ground. "Sorry for being so rough, but that would have been better than rolling down the hard, uneven rock surface," I apologize to them. The girls blush. "It's okay." Kaminari exclaims, "Thanks bro, I thought I was dead." Demon, show off, Bakugo mutters. "I wasn't showing off, I just didn't want to have to heal 4 people for something I caused," I replied, staring at Bakugo. Then Aizawa pulls up the leaderboard, and it looks like this. Izuku Lunar, Momo Yaoyorozu, Shoto Todoroki, Katsuki Bakugo, Izumi Yagi, Toru Hagakure, New Toru Wales. "It's okay, don't let this stop you, make this an opportunity to learn and become a great hero," I tell her. "Thanks," she replies with tears. "Oh, also that whole thing about the expulsion was fake," Aizawa said. "You didn't notice I show dash," Momo started. Momo, he wasn't lying, he expelled a whole class before because he didn't see any potential in the "I cut her off." This evidently rattled her. She was so sure that it would be a hoax. After another second, she realized that if she had failed, then she could be on her way home right now. Before you start hyperventilating, just know that even though it's hard for him to approve of your strength, he does highly consider potential, and that is why he didn't expel Hagakure. Also, you were right to assume it's a hoax. After working so hard, I was sure at least a few more would have thought it to be a hoax," I reply. "Okay," she replied. "Will student Izuku Lunar of Class 1A report to Principal Nisa's office?" the system blared. "Well, that's my cue," I say. "Why would Nizu need to speak with you?" Kirishima. "It would probably have to do with me getting a 100% on the written exam in 11 minutes out of the 2.5 hours given," I said while jogging to the building and putting back on my weights. "Wait, what?" the whole class screamed. "It took me almost 2 hours and I barely got a 98%, Momo thought, and I got the second highest rating in our class in terms of speed for completion as well as accuracy." Nisa's office. "So what did you call me in for?" I asked Nizu. I want you to become my personal student, Nizu stated proudly. Okay, what will I do? I'm intrigued, I asked. Well, with this you will be working overtime and I will be helping you get a license to help train your fellow students as well as learn what the support course is learning to get licensed to help build stuff, he said. But why the support course as well? Well, originally I would do a doctor, but you told me how you made your own suit, so I swapped that out with an engineering license, he replied. I'm in, I said. Really that fast? He asked. You realize you will have a ton more homework and a lot less training time. Okay, here's the thing, I'm above the grad level in all 4 core subjects, and I am probably one of the best strategists to walk these halls, I say. Okay, you seem ready, let's roll, he says. And with that my first day at UA was finished. The rest of the week seemed to be going by as smoothly as it really could. I still had to deal with All Might, Telik, and Izumi always begging for me to come back. Especially during the second day, I and Momo won the battle against Bakugo and Todoroki, our opponents, and still won the fastest of any other team. Today was Friday and now it was time for homeroom before our subject classes. As soon as we walked in I could tell something was up as Aizawa was already there waiting when he's usually late by a few seconds. 2 things first is we need a class rep dash, Aizawa started. Yay normal school stuff, the class yelled. Quiet down. I wasn't done. After you choose who our class rep, you should all get ready because on Monday we will be going on a field trip to the UA Unforeseen Simulation Joint, also known as the USJ. Aizawa finished. All of a sudden the whole class started offering themselves up for representative. The only people who didn't want to run for class rep were Yagi and Todoroki. The whole class was in a panic till Ida stood up. Ida said, how about we put this up to a vote? Then Azui responded, but then wouldn't everyone vote for themselves? Well then whoever doesn't vote for themselves must really deserve it, Ida responded. I chose Momo, then turned in my slip. Slowly the rest of the class voted and after 5 minutes everyone had voted. Ida went up and tallied the votes with Azui and Todoroki checking to make sure he wasn't changing the votes. After all the tallying was done the board had 11 people with no votes. Vote totals. Izuku 3, Momo 3, Ida 2, Bakugo 1, Kirishima 1, Min Kaminari 1, Rima 1. All right, who voted for the nerd? Bakugo screamed. Immediately Momo's hand, Ida's hand, Uraraka's hand, Azui's hand, and Todoroki's hand came up. After a few seconds, Koda and Shoji's hands went up. Then seeing that Yagi weakly put her hand up. Wait, you didn't vote for yourself? Momo asked. No, Momo, I voted for you, I started. Also, is it okay that I still call you that? I know you said I could call you that when we were 4, but I was just wondering. Sure. But then I'm going to continue calling you Izuku, Momo replied. Deal. After that, I realized that Ida was slightly down because he wanted to get a class rep position badly as well. I walked over to him and tried to cheer him up, but to no avail. Now for your speeches, Ashido stated. I'll pass, I sighed. Speech, 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 the class said minus Bakugo. Fine, fine, I said. All right, I have no idea why you would vote me for class president. I don't think I deserve such high respects, but I will try my best to make you all proud. Short and sweet, I like it, Hagakure said. After I walked down to my seat, Momo began her whole speech about how she will do her best, and thanks, how she will try her best to make this the best class she can, and a whole bunch more. After 5 minutes she finally finished and sat down. Kaminari was full of stupid mode from smartness overload, as he called it, while the rest of the class just applauded her, not really knowing what else to do. Lunar, Yaoyorozu, I will need to speak to you after class about your duties and all that nonsense, Aizawa said out of nowhere. Okay, we replied. The rest of the class was nothing special. It was easy and I did my homework before class was even started. After our last class, which was math, was over, I headed over to Aizawa's office with Momo to see what he needed us for. When we walked in he was in his sleeping bag but was clearly waiting for us. You took 3 minutes and 22 seconds to get here. That's too long. I don't care if your class is far away. Next time make it 2 minutes and 50 seconds or you're expelled, Aizawa states. Okay, sir, Momo replied. Now, as for what I called you here for, he started, you will need to make a file on all the class's personalities, quirks, strengths, and potential weaknesses if possible on all the students due Monday when school starts. I say. Do you need anything? If not, leave. There's nothing more for you here, Aizawa said. Right after we left, Momo and I exchanged phone numbers and had planned to meet tomorrow on Saturday at a cafe I knew. And she began to walk out of school. Realizing that I wasn't following her, she turned around. Where are you going, Izuku? She asked. Me? Oh, that's easy. I'm going to the support course classroom for my intermediate classes, I reply. For what? Momo asks. Well, you know how I'm Nizu's student. Well, that entitles more than personal studies with him. I'm also being taught so I can get my supporter's license and my teaching license. In order to get my teaching license, I need to first get my provisional license. That means that I usually stay till about 6 o'clock just to get ready. Wait, why do you need to get those licenses? Besides, you also have to worry about our hero training and studies as well? Tis. Hero training, yes. Studies, no, I reply. Why not studies? She ponders. Because you know how I turned a huge pile of stuff in before all of our classes today? I start. Well, that's our homework and classwork for this term and next term. But we haven't gone over any of that material. I went through high school classes for university during my first year in middle school, I say. But why? I mean, I'm usually trying to stay a week ahead. That way I have extra practice and usually get 100s in classes, but I don't go years ahead. Because I wanted my biological parents to notice me, but that didn't work, and clearly working out wasn't either. So around then is when I stopped fighting for their attention. You know, the more I find out about your family, the more I start to hate them. They aren't my family, and now I live in more comfort and riches than both of them. Okay, if you say so. Not wanting to talk anymore, I said my goodbyes and headed for the support room. Little did I know that Momo never left. Instead, she was following me and seeing if I was telling the truth. To her surprise, all of it was true about his extra work. However, what she wasn't told was that today he was getting his support license. Momo POV. And it was the 5th day of school, and he didn't start till the 2nd day of school. He passed with flying colors and left and was extra happy. For some reason she would confront him on Monday for what, but then she heard that he could now legally wear his costume when they were allowed to buy UA. I was so confused I came out of my hiding place unintentionally to ask him, but by the time I realized what I was doing, it was too late. I was found out by Izuku. What are you doing here, Momo? Fifth. Well, I didn't fully believe you, so I followed you, and when I heard about your costume I was so confused. And then I remember that you didn't wear it on our 2nd day when we were supposed to. I unconsciously left my hiding spot to confront you about it, I replied. Oh, is that it? Well, I couldn't wear my costume legally on Tuesday, so I had to go in my gym clothes. Why couldn't you wear it? Because I built it, but now that I have my license I can now wear it when we go to the USJ. Wait, what? I just stared in complete shock. After a few minutes, Power Loader said, I think you broke her, Mr. Lunar. Oh no, he replied before trying to snap me out of it. After a few more seconds I finally did snap out of it before asking, wait, why did you call one of the students Mr. Lunar? Easy, because he now has his license, and so now he is on the level of a graduate of the UA support course, because they only get their license on their 3rd year at the end of the year after creating hundreds of successful inventions and over 10,000 thousands of failed creations, he replied. Now I have to take my provisional license exam on Wednesday next week so I can start learning to be a teacher, Izuku said. What the actual hell? First years barely ever take the exam, but no student takes the exam after 1.5 weeks, I state in concern. Well, sure, but I've gone through about a year of hero training since I started with Nizu, plus I really don't think I'll need to use my nen, much less my chakra against the trainees, he states. Well, you know what? I've always been wondering, what is this nen? Stand back and I'll give you an example, then explain. I walk back 10 steps and he then nods, and instantly there is snaps of electricity going around his body. I stare in awe of how he is just standing there. Then in a blink of an eye he is behind me and I feel a push from behind. It hurts, but when I turn around I see an almost aura-like thing surrounding Izuku. What was that for? But also, what is that steam? Well, I pushed you so you could see my nin by activating all your nodes in your body. If you look at yourself you will now begin to see a huge aura rushing from you. I need to hurry this explanation, but I need you to imagine the steam slowly surrounding your body like a steady flow of a river gently moving around your body. When you have that image in your head, open your eyes again, Izuku says. I do as told, then see that there is a small whitish aura around me. I'm completely fascinated and I walk up to Izuku BT. I'm a bit faster for some reason, not much but still faster. I also feel like I have a bit more defensive capabilities for no reason. What is this? That is 10, the most important part of Nen, he responds. Okay, why is it the most important part? First, just imagine not letting the aura out and that it is just sitting there idle, he responds. When I do, I feel normal. As if nothing happened to me. I was really worried for a sec. I was wondering if I could ever get that back. Stop worrying and look at me, Izuku says. His aura is still there. I don't know how I can see it since I couldn't before I was pushed and had my own aura. How can I still see your aura? What the hell are you two talking about? Power loader intervenes. Oh yeah, sorry sir, but I can't really explain. I can say though that what you saw me doing with the electric snaps was one of the 2 non-Quirk's abilities called Nen. I also want to thank you for everything you have done. He turned his head to me. I'll explain more in a sec, but for now follow me. I followed him and he took me to his car. He asked me to go in, and when I asked why, he said he was taking me to his house to tell me about the whole aura mess. I reluctantly agreed because I knew he would never try to do anything bad to me, so I felt safe with him. Sil Momo's POV. Out of nowhere we took a turn into a small road that was about 10 minutes outside of the city. After a few more seconds we turn in and I saw the house. It was a lot bigger than I had expected. In fact, I was still in awe that a runaway, no matter how much it was justified, would be this financially stable. Are you sure this is the place? I ask. Yeah, honestly Mr. Stark set me off to, well, Izuku says. Who is Mr. Stark? I ask. She'd I said too much, he's of no concern, Izuku said. Okay, if you say so. Afterwards we went in and I was truly surprised how neat and tidy his house was. He lived alone, yet there wasn't a speck of dirt anywhere to be seen. I'm sorry for how dirty the house is. I wasn't expecting to bring in visitors today, Izuku said. Wait, this is dirty. Oh my god, my house has never been this clean. Yeah, I haven't cleaned up in the past few days, so I really need to get working on that. Honestly, if it was any more clean, I would think I was in heaven. Yeah, I guess, but I don't know what God would say to that. Suddenly someone appeared beside Izuku. He looked familiar. After looking for a sec, he was the person that was there the first day. He was a strange person indeed. I didn't know you had a roommate, I said. Ignoring me, Izuku looked at him and said, Man, look, she's here now. I gotta explain this too. Besides, I thought you were working with the angels and was in a meeting right now. Wait, angels, what are you talking about? Oh, see, I forgot you are in earshot. Well, I guess there's nothing I can do about it now, Izuku sighed. This here is God. He goes by King when he's on Earth. What I was talking about was his meeting with the angels to see the status of Earth and making sure the Earth was still stable for us to be tried. Okay, stop lying like this. Man, here is God. I may a dash. You did it, didn't you? Izuku said. Yes, I showed her just like I showed you, King said. Well, that saves me time. So you really are God, she said, completely shocked. Yes, and you must never talk about this unless you are with Izuku and are here in this house, otherwise we could have a whole catastrophe on our hands and that would end up with an extinction event wiping out almost everyone like Noah and his ark again. Okay, wait, can I at least tell my parents? Nope, both Izuku and King replied. Sorry for dragging you into this. I should have remembered I can't say the word God in my house without this man appearing, Izuku says. It's okay, just a lot to process, I reply. That's what he said when I showed him my true identity, King said. We're getting off topic, Izuku starts. I'm going to tell you all about mine, and you are the first person and probably one of the very few I will ever tell. And I'm only telling you because you have a pure hero's heart like Ida but won't do anything stupid like he would. What do you mean pure hero's heart? I mean you're not trying to be a hero for fame, money, or popularity. Okay, I guess. Now follow me outside. After he said that, King, or should I saw God, disappeared. I'm still baffled but snap out of it and followed Izuku. We walked to his backyard, which was appealing. The lawn was neatly trimmed and had a huge fountain in the center and had a perfectly trimmed hedges along the walls with trees surrounding the landscape. Izuku then had us walk through parts of the trees, then brought us to an open rock clearing. Alright, here is where I will explain, Izuku states. I'm all ears, I say. Just then grabbed 2 bracelets and then began talking. I told you that I was brought to a pocket dimension. Yeah, that was a lie. I was brought to a temporary world that had 8 people from different worlds or the afterlife train me. The first 5 years I was taught by the ex-Death Note holder Light Yagami, and the strategist hunting Light Light had found this book where if he writes a person's name they would die in 40 seconds after their name while thinking of their face was written. Unless the cause of death is written, the writer then has 6 minutes and 40 seconds to write how and when they die. L was the first head to hunt Light. Light had to pass on the notebook many times in order to fool everyone but L. However, since everyone else is convinced, he eventually beat and killed L. However, L was so close to proving him that the 2 people replacing him finished up all the evidence and reasoning and killed Light. He clearly waited a few moments for me to process and ask any questions I had. This was so weird. He met 2 dead people from another world. Any questions so far? He asked. What did they teach you? I mean, it's not like you have a Death Note, alright? But I don't have a Death Note. Light taught me how to flip the script and hunt the hunter while still acting like prey, how to set up hundreds of false trails with 1 move, and how to make basic and complex traps. L taught me how to see through all the fake leads, how to butte how many culprits there are, and how to know if someone else has joined the game before they do, Izuku answered. Oh, so that's why you always seem to know what to do during combat training. Yup, he said. Now I guess you made me skip over the rest as to why I was trained by them. Next I was taught by 2 professional hunters in the art of Nen. Their names were Gon and Killua. Now Nen is essentially part of you life force. The reason I immediately had you activate 10 is so that way you wouldn't faint and die. There are 4 basic principles for Nen. The first is 10, which is what happened when the aura surrounded your body faintly. 10 is a basic defense against Nen-fueled attacks and Nen-aura attacks. However, 10 is overall useless against anything serious. For serious defense, I'll teach you Ken, but that will be later. Any questions so far? No, I reply. Okay, then next is what you will learn is Zetsu, and I'm going to show it to you. Not tell you. What I want you to do for me is close your eyes and try to sense my presence with your Nen. I closed my eyes and I could immediately find his presence. It was massive. How much aura was within him was almost unreal. I got you, I said. Okay, now point to me while I walk around, hop and such. He hopped, dodged, ran. I could always find him. Alright, now I'm activating Zetsu, Izuku states. Wait, where did you go? I said. Open your eyes, he whispered in my ears. I did, and he was right next to me. I didn't even hear him move. I was creeped out to say the least. Zetsu allows you to seal your nodes, temporarily masking your presence, and also hiding your location. Okay, what do I do? Now imagine putting your aura back in yourself again, but this time imagine sealing it off, Izuku said. I tried it first, but I couldn't do it. It was partially closed but then stayed open. I tried again and got them to close with immense struggle. You got them, I said. No way. Wow, you're a natural. Really, I asked. It usually takes a few days to learn by most. Next is run, which is what happened when I activated your run, but this time controlled a bit more so you don't lose all your strength. The ability to go to run then to 10 and back is really important, but I won't teach you that today. Instead, I'll tell you about the rest of my history. I guess, I said, disappointed. Don't be so disappointed. Also, I noticed you struggled a bit closing your nodes. If you want tonight, just practice it so it becomes like butter your transition. He offered. Now where were we? Yes, my next 2 teachers were Naruto and Sasuke, who saved the whole world from Kagaya Otsutsuki, Madara Uchiha, and Obito Uchiha. He starts, now for the sake of time because it's getting late, I'll tell you what they taught me. They taught me the use of chakra, or bending my spiritual energy and combining it with the world's elements and energies. Each person has 1 or 2 that they have a proficiency in. For me it's wind and lightning. In order to combine the energy, you create hand seals that alter the chakra, allowing the caster to use the power, but properly known as jutsu. Their objective was to teach me how to use it, and I did. Any questions? Why are you telling me your history? Because you happen to run into King, and now if I hide anything it puts you in more danger than it would knowing. Finally I went to Mr. Stark and Peter Parker. They taught me everything I know about building stuff and even taught me how to use stuff that hasn't been invented in this world yet, as well as some chemistry to make different kinds of chem weapons to capture people and make webs and stuff. It was cool. Also Stark is the one who gave me the house and cars. And that's my story. Now any final questions? No, that would be so cool to meet them though. You can and will later. How? Secret. Fine. Now I need to take you home. It's past 7:30. Your parents are going to kill me. After that we headed out to his house and I headed to the front door. He had to grab something I guess, so I waited for him at the front door. Out of nowhere he called, Lumbo or Royce. Lumbo, I called back. All right, I'm coming. He walked up and gave me a sweater and walked out. What's this for? I asked. That is for when we training. You need to have that on to enter my property. You can change it to a bracelet or a necklace as well, but I have it default to a blank sweater so I can grab them with ease. Okay, how do I turn into a necklace? Push the chest part, then imagine it as any necklace you want and it will turn into that necklace, but beware if you try to imagine it as anything other than a hoodie, necklace, or bracelet, the device will fail and will no longer be able to shift what it is. He responds. I tap the chest part, then imagine it as a diamond necklace that said Momo on the middle. Then we walk out to see his dark green Lumbo. Well, hop in, he said. I still can't believe you're that kid from when we were 4 who was sticking up to Bakugo, I say. Yeah, sometimes I still wonder if that was really me, he says. Afterwards we have a quiet ride to my house. It was a 25-minute drive, but it was peaceful and quite nice. I laid back and was tired, so I laid back and instantly fell asleep. Momo, 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 I heard. What? You're up finally. We're at your house, someone said. I opened my eyes and instantly remembered what happened. I started blushing as I realized I fell asleep in his car. Then out of nowhere I was being lifted up and taken somewhere. Knock knock. Who is this? A slightly robotic voice said. Hello, my name is Izuku Lunar. Your daughter decided to see what business I still had after school with Nizu because I'm his personal student and was interested. I'm sorry for being here so late, but my classes ended late today and she stayed with me for them all, he ended. Okay, come on in, Mr. Lunar, the voice said as a man opened the door. Izuku's POV. Hi, my name is Hayashi Yaoyorozu, a man said. Hi, Mr. Yaoyorozu. You can put my daughter down there, he said, pointing to another seat. I said. Now I would like to know what actually happened with you and my daughter, he said sternly. Well, actually her and I are the class reps, so we had to meet with Aizawa-sensei after school. But afterwards, as she was supposedly went home, I went back inside for my test to get my supporters. License test today, because as I said I am Nizu I started. Stop lying to me, child. I know Nizu and he doesn't have personal students, Mr. Yaoyorozu said. At this I pick up my phone and call Nizu. It takes him a while to pick up and during such I just wait looking at Mr. Yaoyorozu. Hello, Izuku, what's up? Why are you calling so late? Usually you're done now. Nizu's voice comes through my phone. Hi Nizu-sensei, I'm here with Mr. Yaoyorozu, I say. And? Asks Nizu. Mr. Yaoyorozu, can you confirm that this is in fact Nizu? Yes, that's him, he confirms. Now Nizu-sensei, I need you to confirm that I am your personal student so I don't get accused of doing something with his daughter that I most certainly did not, and before you ask, Momo followed me to watch me during my test without me knowing and has fallen asleep when I took her home, I say. Yes, Izuku is my personal student. Mr. Yaoyorozu, I understand your concern as well as why you would believe that I don't have such a student, but I know you were told that your daughter placed second on the test, and the person that scored higher is Izuku here, who got a 100% on the test in 11 minutes and 26 seconds. And before you ask, I checked to see if he cheated as well as did an IQ test. This child has knowledge greater than one of a university graduate, Nizu replies. After he said this, I hung up the phone and put it away. Now can I continue my story? Is it? Yes, sorry for my disturbance, he replied. Great, now I had found out Momo was there when she unconsciously moved to come in when they had heard that I passed the support license exam, which only third years can take right before they graduate. After saying this, I pulled out my license. This happened at 5:03 p.m. when she found out. She was wondering why I needed my license, and I replied saying I needed it to use my hero suit because I made it myself. Any questions so far? Can I see your hero costume? Fifth. Yes, sir. Luckily I have my spare on me right now, I reply. I then double-tap my bracelet and it turns into a suit that slowly covers my body. I see, Mr. Yayarozu said. This is my nanotech suit. I must now take it off because technically wearing it outside of my own property or outside of school is illegal, I say. Okay, he replies. Now let me continue. I start. After I explained that I was planning on going home when Momo started questioning how I managed to have a healing quirk alone but yet seem to control the elements and what training I do to lift my wrist and ankle weights as well as my vest. So yes, how do you do control the elements? Fifth. Well, you see, I have found a way to bend spiritual energy within myself and therefore changing the elements around me based on how I do it. Now I could only find a way to bend wind and electricity, I state. I see. That is one strong quirk. Actually, it isn't a quirk like I said. My only quirk has to do with healing. However, in order to unlock it, you would have to spend a lot of time meditating and be able to easily lift at least 125 tons. These wrist and ankle weights are all 45 tons each, meaning just my arms and ankles are holding 180 tons. However, my vest is 52 tons, I state. If you were telling the truth, then the floor would have broke. Alright, I guess I have to prove it to you again. However, for this one, will you follow me outside? I say. Oh, and also, do you have a machine that isn't capable of lifting things this heavy but can lift close to this heavy? Yes, actually I have a weight measurement that reaches up to 55 tons in weight, he says. Nice, that makes this easier, I reply. I put my wrist weight on and it reads 45 tons. He hit the machine, reset the machine, and did everything to make sure it was accurate. After proving its accuracy, he wondered how his floors weren't breaking, and I explained how I actually haven't sat down yet and have just been transferring my weight before the ground can even recognize the weight I'm putting on it. Now for the rest of my story, I say, and pull out my driver's license. After this, I took your daughter to my house after remembering an event when I had met her when we were 4. We both realized this, and then I explained why I ran away from my family, All Might, Telik, and my sister Izumi Yagi. Wait, you're Izuku Yagi? He asks. Yes and no, I reply. Explain. I ran away almost 11 months ago from my house, and at the time my name was Izuku Yagi. However, I met someone who was impressed with my training up to that point and wanted me to train with him and his friends. After proving they had no hose till intent, I trained with him in the original man's quirk, which opens a pocket dimension. However, his dimension makes 2 years pass in the time 1 month passes on Earth. However, I age at the time as the real world, meaning in 2 years' time I had aged 1 month. This happened for 20 years in that dimension where I leaned my battle training, unlocked my elemental changes, learned that I did have a quirk, and learned how to create things. This is also where I created my suit. Then when I left, everyone said I was missing for only 5 months, not 10, which means they didn't notice me missing for half the time I was gone. I explained this to them. However, during the 10 months I was gone, the others had legally changed my name, bought me my own place, and got me 2 cars. I drove your daughter here in my dark green Lamborghini that I was given. I told them that what they did was too much, but they insisted and wouldn't let me say no. I eventually accepted after a while, and during this I was given one last task from them, and that was to beat All Might and make them regret neglecting me for 11.25 years in the real world, I say. That would explain why she was asleep when you brought her here. I assume she fell asleep in your car? He asked. Yes. So what happened during him going to guess maybe 1.5 hours you were at your house? He asked. Honestly, all we did was catch up with each other, I responded. Yes, you mentioned meeting my daughter once before. When was that? Yes, well, one of my bullies was attacking your sister because they thought her quirk SED and that he was stronger, so he was about to attack her when I took the beating for her, since I had already been dealing with his beatings for 5 months at that point in time, I responded. Yes, I do remember her telling me about that, he replied. Yes, well, we were able to tell each other our names and chat for a minute before she left, so that is where we started and caught up from. Okay. I will not press you for any other information. I was just making sure she was alright, and you have proved your honesty many times, so I won't ask her. However, next time try and be back before 7 o'clock. This is your only warning, he said. Izuku's POV. Thank you, Mr. Yayarozu, and I will make sure not to let this happen again. However, we probably should have done this while we were at my house, but I forgot. But we need to make a file on all our classmates, and it's due Monday before our USJ field trip on Monday. So I will be picking her up tomorrow, I state. Okay, I will see you tomorrow then, he replied. One more thing before I go, Rolls-Royce or Lamborghini? If you're referring to which car you should pick her up in, I would go with the Lamborghini, he states. If that's your choice. What do you mean? I mean, I have a Rolls-Royce and Lamborghini as you said, but I wanted you to choose which I come in so you know what I'm coming in tomorrow. Yes, then the Lamborghini since I know your license plate so I can confirm it to be you. Time skip Saturday 11:30 a.m. Hello Mr. Lunar please. Come in, I hear Mr. Yayarosa say as the gates open. Thank you sir, I say back and drive in. Hi Zuzu, Momo called. Hey Momo, I say back. Just then Momo climbs in my car and I start to drive off when I hear her mother say, enjoy your date honey. This caused me to lightly blush and make Momo blush really hard. It took me a sec to recover, but once I did I put the car in gear and drove off. After we left Momo said, I'm so sorry about my mom. I chuckled and replied, oh yeah that's fine. Also what's with the nickname Zuzu all of a sudden? After saying this she started to blush again and said, WEU I just thought about it when I said it thinking it sounded kind of cute. Okay, I smile, I guess it's kind of cute. Okay Zuzu it is, she said. Oh yeah how'd you sleep last night? I had to talk with your father then left but I just want to make sure you were okay. Oh actually I don't even remember falling asleep, I just remember waking up in my room to my alarm at 8 so I slept like a log, she responded. Well that's good. My dad didn't harass you too much did he? Actually I expected him to have a whole lot more questions. Thank goodness. Just then we pulled up to the cafe and went in. We just stood there looking for what we wanted and spent our time looking after we knew what we wanted just to see what they had until it was our turn. What can I start you lovely couple with? The cashier said. We're not dating just here for a school assignment, but I'll take a latte with an order of pastries, I said. Sorry for my assumption, what about you miss? I guess I'll try the cappuccino and one more order of pastries. I pull out my card and pay for the grub right before walking to our table. You should have let me pay, Momo said. Nonsense. I have 1 million yen I can spend this month before getting my next payment of another 1M so there is no need for you to pay. I reply. Fine, she said. So before we get started I want to know what my father interrogated you about. He wanted to know what we were doing, I replied saying I caught you spying on me for the exams. He then had me call Nizu to confirm that I was taking the exam. Then I said that we were just catching up from what happened during the 11 years since we last saw each other. What else did he have you prove? Tess. What makes you say that? If that was all you had to prove he would have interrogated me to make sure our stories lined up. Fine, he made me prove how heavy my weights were, prove my identity and told him that I was the ex-runaway known as Izuku Yagi, and checked my licenses to make sure I had legal ones and not some fakes to help me with my story, I responded. That makes sense. Just then our drinks came out and we began working on our class file. It took nearly 45 minutes but we were finally down to just me and Momo. Alright, I've already explained my abilities which you currently have one. I've also explained what chakra is to you but my actual quirk is called Heal Pulse. This quirk allows me to heal myself or someone from the brink of death to perfect condition, but its downside is there is a cooldown. For a brink of death injury, it takes 48 hours for me to use my quirk again. For life-threatening but not brink of death situations it takes me 24 hours before I can use my quirk again. For serious injuries that could lead to permanent damage or could lead to life-threatening case it takes me 12 hours to heal them. For something like a few broken bones it takes me 20 minutes before I can heal someone else. And finally for anything less than that I can continuously use it. I finish. Geez, that's one big healing quirk, she retorts. Yeah, but it took me almost dying to find out I had the quirk, I reply. Okay, guess it's my turn. I can create anything as long as I know what it's made of as well as the compositions of all the materials, she said. You know, if you're a conjurer you could combine that with your quirk and be nearly unstoppable, I say. After we finished writing our reports out we just sat there and talked for another 45 minutes. But I had learned that she has always loved the studies of anatomy, she loved music and her friend Jair had made her start listening to Queen and she enjoyed it. She also told me that the whole reason she's becoming a hero is to help the people who aren't attacked on the media who could be victims of terrible things that no one knows about. Before I decided we should probably go before we get in trouble. I left a 4,200 yen tip. When we got in the car, Momo said, "Thanks for today, it was fun." "Honestly, I had a lot of fun as well. I'm glad you enjoyed it," I replied. Time skip Monday, loading into the bus. "Alright guys, let's line up single file and fill the bus one at a time," I said. "Please listen to Zuzu, we need to get going as soon as possible," Momo replied. "I didn't know you were dating," screamed Ishido. "It's not like that," we both calmly reply. "We're just childhood friends," I finish. "If you say so," she replies. "Now that that's over, please proceed in an orderly fashion," I say. After that, the whole class went in one by one, with Momo and me going in last after making sure we had everyone. I just glared at the class when I saw what they did. They left only the front 2 seats open for me and Momo. "Man, you are all way too difficult," I say, sighing. With that, I and Momo went into the seats and waited for the trip. The first few minutes were fine until Momo fell asleep and ended up on my shoulder. I could instantly feel the eyes of the whole class on me, except for Bakugo and Yagi. Especially Ishido, and to say the least I was said. "Stop looking at us, she probably just had a long day yesterday," I hiss at them. Instantly the whole class acted as if they weren't looking. Yagi and Bakugo just minded their own business, while the rest of the class acted as if they were talking and sneaking glances every chance they got. Time skip 30 minutes. "Alright everyone, we are here," Uncle Shoyuta said. With that, everyone slowly started stretching and getting ready. I almost forgot that Momo was asleep and I was about to stretch as well when I noticed. Hey, I said, lightly shaking Momo. "Ah." Momo responded. "As much as you look really cute sleeping, you need to wake up. We're at the..." I replied. Momo instantly remembered where she was and started to blush madly. I responded with a light blush, realizing what I had said. "Yes, sorry, I didn't dash," I started. "Did you mean what you said?" She cut me off. "Yes," I replied. "Well, we should probably get going, plus everyone's looking at us." "They have been for the whole trip," I hiss. "Why?" she asked, confused. "Because you were on his shoulder the whole time," Kaminari said, about to explode in laughter. "Really?" "Why yeah, we took a turn out of the campus and you fell onto my shoulder," I respond. "Well then thanks," she said. "Anytime," I say calmly. Then I face the class and sternly say, "Now, if you're done harassing me and Momo, then let's get going. I'm sure we've kept 13, but Might and Aizawa-sensei waiting long enough." After that, we all left the bus and got a small lecture from Aizawa on how it took us too long to get out, but he relented when 13 came out and invited us inside. The whole time Uraraka was fangirling. When we got inside, 13 started to explain that we will be doing hero rescue training, then a portal came out of nowhere. "Whoa, yo, brought fake villains as well," so manly Kirishima stated. "Those aren't fake villains, those are real," I say, jumping down to the fray. I charged up my nen to 5% and was ready to fight them. I looked around and noticed that 3 figures seemed to run the place. The first one was surrounded in hands, the second had the warp quirk, and the third was some Birdman hybrid thing that honestly would have made most people sheet their breaths then and there. "You wanna die, kid?" Nobody called out. "Your funeral," another cried out. Said I deactivated my nen and just took them all out, all 100 thugs, then said, "You sure are overconfident. I haven't even used my quirk yet." "How, that was 32 seconds, the handman said. "Easy, I took off my weights today, so now I don't have 232 tons of weight holding me back. Now I suggest you go back to whatever hole you came from and try again when I'm not living," I taunt. "Kill this brat Nomu," the handman replies calmly. Suddenly the bird is behind me. I jump over him and dodge his punch. When he came back, I met its fist with my own and sent the Nomo flying at the cost of my shattered arm. "Wow, that thing made me need to use my healing quirk. Not bad," I say. "What the hell kind of kid are you? That was stronger than All Might in his prime," he said. That was a warm-up during my training to apply to UA, but Might could have beaten that in a shorter time," I spat. "Shouldn't you be respectful to your teachers?" "Yes, but not but Might and his fraud wife," I respond. "And why is that?" Warpy asked. Personal dash, I was cut off by the Nomi punching me. "The hell, you should be crippling right now," I said. "Ha, my perfect Nomi here has shock absorption, and regeneration. Well then it is a good thing I also have more than one quirk, nin style, full cowling 10%, you wanna play show off I show you show off, I say rushing the Nomu. I was practically disappearing just making hole after hole in the Nomu. Deciding I've had enough, I get ready for a final attack but then I notice that Momo, Jairu, and Kaminari were all about to die in the rocket zone. Lightning style, flying Raijin, I said appearing behind Momo. The hell how'd you get he dash, he was interrupted with me uppercutting his jaw. Thank goodness that I put my marking on that necklace, I said pointing to Momo's necklace. You barely caught yourself there Zuzu, Momo said. Sorry. Geez I already get enough CRP from Killua and Naruto, I replied. Who is that? Kaminari and Jairu ask. Two of the people that trained me, now I need to get back to fighting that a-hole before Aizawa gets himself killed, I reply. Wait first how did you get here so fast? Fast? About that yeah I just teleported, I replied. How? You have a healing quirk. My third quirk, chakra, I reply. How many quirks do you have? Kaminari asks. 3, healing, nin and chakra, I say. Now stop grilling me I'll explain later unless you want him to die, I point at Aizawa who just had his arm broken. Go, Momo said. Already am, I said. Wind style, raisin shuriken, I said throwing it. As I threw it the Nomo barely dodged it and got away from Aizawa. Sheet, lightning style flying Raijime, I said then appeared right by Aizawa and caught my Rasen shuriken. Kid what the hell was that? Aizawa asked. That would be my Rasen shuriken, now watch out I gotta deal with this beach here, I say pointing to the Nomu. I threw my Rasen shuriken in the direction of UA then charged the Nomu. Now I was said and started to get serious. Nen ability, full cowling 15%, and chakra ability, Rasengan, I said jumping to the Nomu leaving a big crater in the floor. As soon as the Rasengan hit the Nomu he went flying back out of the USJ. Who's next? I say. Please get the message soon. UA Nisa's point of view 5 minutes ago. I was taking a stroll around UA when I saw a massive white shuriken with a ball inside head straight to me. I was about to dodge when it disappeared and a scroll was left behind where it was. Curiously I grabbed the scroll and it said, attack at the USJ Aizawa is critical, 13 is knocked out but most of the students are fine I'm dealing with the main attackers that took down Aizawa and 13. Please send medics and teachers to help catch these villains. Izuku Lunar Pedis don't send All Might I just dealt with a Nomu who has raw strength stronger than All Might. I immediately put the school on lockdown and spent the next 5 minutes explaining the situation to the heroes/teachers. Snipe, Cementos, Midnight, Recovery Girl, and Vlad King and informed them of the situation as we sped through the city towards the US. Back in USJ Izuku's POV present time. Don't worry about the boy, he must be reaching his limit, Warpy says while the dust is clearing. I wouldn't believe him, I said stepping out of the dust. You cheater my Nomu was supposed to kill All Might, Handman says complaints. Shigaraki calm down Warpy says. No, Kurojiri look at the boy he's barely breaking a sweat he may have a few cuts but he's fine, Shigaraki says. His quirks must be at a limit now, they must, Kurojiri says. I intervene. As hilarious as this is watching two grown men complain about how a boy just destroyed their plaything, I'd really like to get home. Oh and about the limit thing Nen ability, full cowling 20%. See I can still tango with you. Before thinking Kurojiri opens a portal around my arm and snaps it closed. Hey good thinking Kurojiri, he said. You know that hurts right, I say while regenerating my arm. Well your Nomu isn't the only one with regeneration. And now I have to beat them without injuries because I have 18 hours till I can heal again but they don't know that. How are you not curling in pain? Shigaraki complained. Oh trust me I've had worse. Try being limbless and headless just your body rolling around now that hurt, I say. We need to get Dash, Shigaraki tried to say wide-eyed. No, I don't think you will be leaving, I say. Shigaraki used his hand and disintegrated my stomach skin and damaged the muscles. That hurts, I state. Well, not regenerating now? Looks like you have a timer on your quirk, Kurojiri says. Well no use hiding that, but I can still clap your cheeks so hard you'll be crying to mama, I counter. Really, Kid, you're something else. You're standing in a pool of your own blood, but you act like this is everyday stuff, Kurogyari says, laughing. Thank him, I say, pointing to Bakugo, who just arrived with Todoroki, Kirishima, and Yagi. Also thank my ex-sister, the girl who's with those three. You were bullied by your fellow heroes in training and yet you still are positai dash, he starts to retort. You know, for someone who is calm and collected, you talk too much, I said after punching him. Shigaraki reached for me again. Not this time, Shigaraki, I thought. Knowing his quirk, I dodged. I make some hand signs real fast, wind style, gale palm. I knocked back Shigaraki, again, and regrouped with Bakugo, Yagi, Todoroki, and Kirishima. Making sure they wouldn't try anything, I stayed up watching them. Lunar bro, that was awesome, Kirishima said. Thanks, but I shouldn't have let my guard down. The fact that I had to use any of my quirks against those two is embarrassing, let alone this injury, I said, pointing to my stomach. That's your blood, how are you not passed out? Todoroki said in concern. Ask them, I pointed to Bakugo and Izumi, then continued, I should thank you for your constant harassment, it really saved me there. Just then the villains recovered and charged me. I was about to fight when someone shot Shigaraki. I looked back to see Snipe and the other teachers here. Let's go, Shigaraki will get another chance, Kurogyari said. Suddenly purple mist surrounded Kurogyari and Shigaraki. Snipe tried to hit them and launched a few shots at the mist. After a few seconds, the mist disappeared and those two were nowhere to be seen. I'm glad you all okay. Once I saw that beast I was extremely worried, Snipe said. Yeah, me too, I responded, walking up to them. Kid, you okay? Snipe asked. You got a serious injury there. Yeah, I've had to survive worse. In fact, at one point, this was nothing but a scratch for me. During my training for the entrance exams, if I had something this little at the end of it, I wasn't being worked hard enough, I responded. What kind of hell did you put yourself through for entering UA? He asked very concernedly. I'll tell you all later. Right now I need to make sure everyone is okay, I state. Kid, you need to see recovery girl. I'm not asking, Vlad King said. I know what you did to that beast out there, but still that is a bad cut. Flashback. Outside of the USJ 15 minutes ago, third POV. What the hell, why didn't any of the alarms go off? Vlad said while he started some dash. Suddenly the Nomu was launched out of the USJ. He was flying towards their destination. When he landed, a loud crash was heard. On their way to the USJ, they stopped to see the beast and make sure he was caught and interrogated. What the FING? Snipe said. What students could have done that? Cementos added. This would be Izuku Lunar's fault, Nizu stated. He's this strong? Vlad questioned. No, he's holding back, Nizu states. No way. All the teachers said. Yup, if he was going all out, the USJ building as well as all the surrounding area would be nothing more than rubble if we're lucky, Nizu states. So, basically he's stronger than All Might, Midnight asked, then finished. That's hot. Nizu said. He's 16, Midnight, besides you already met him and knew he was strong. But seriously, goddamn, what kind of quirk is that? Snipe asked. None, Nizu replied. What do you mean? Vlad asked. The kid wasn't wearing his weights today. That means the villains attacked a kid who's no longer being held back by 232 tons of weight on him. I would be surprised if any of the villains escape, or much less conscious when we get there, Nizu explained. So, he has a strength quirk but still 232 tons, that's insane, Vlad yells. Nope, we suppressed his quirks with quirk suppression and he was just wearing them like normal weights, Nizu said. What kind of training did the kid subject himself to in order to do that? Snibus. Well, actually he didn't find out about any of his quirks till 5 months ago, but he always wanted to become a hero, so he trained himself so hard so that he could make himself have a strength quirk, and that's what he was going to write down. In fact, by that point in time he was wearing 192 tons of weight, so I doubt he's used any part of his quirk, Nizu said. Really? That's insane. Just then the Nomu stood up but didn't move. It was just standing there doing nothing. Principal Nizu put suppression cuffs on the Birdman beast thing and then they ran the rest of the way to the USJ. When they arrived, 2 villains were getting up, Aizawa and 13 were badly injured. Izuku was missing his stomach but was conscious and still fighting. After subduing all the villains, they tended to Aizawa, 13, and tried to help Izuku. End of flashback. Izuku POV. You know, Snipe, Vlad King, if I was actually injured then I wouldn't have been able to deal with the two that just got away. I smile. Momo came running to us with Jairu and smacked Izuku, then said, "That was way too reckless, you shouldn't have showed off so much." Sorry. I just hated how much they were bragging about the Nomu and showing off, so I decided to play that game as well. I'm sorry, Momo, Izuku apologized. What do you mean he showed off? Snipe asked. Lunar Bro made a huge crater on the Quirk apprehension test with almost none of his nin Quirk, but yet he was using like 20% of his nin Quirk, and this place is still decently intact, Kirishima responded. He was also yelling out the name of all his moves, Jairu added. Really, kid? Vlad asked. You know that they might start planning to take you down now that they know what you can do, Cementos added. No, they can't. I showed them all a very, very, very held back version of all my attacks, Izuku started. If they think I was going all out, they're badly mistaken. Besides, other than my teleportation quirk, I haven't shown any of my lighting attacks. Shadow clone jutsu, I said. Suddenly 200 Izukus appeared and they all surrounded the USJ and began hunting for any struggling classmates, leftover villains, and helped get everyone on the bus in an orderly fashion. What the hell, kid, that's more clones than ectoplasm can manage, Vlad said. This is nothing. If I wanted to I could make 3,000 clones. That's the most I can manage before I start sacrificing my move strength, I explain. You're something else, kid, Cementos said. After 5 minutes all the clones had disappeared after loading up the boss, helping to bring in villains, and helping their injured classmates and teachers. After that, I passed out just wanting to sleep for a bit. 36 hours later. Where am I? Oh dear, you're in my office, Recovery Girl replied. What time is it? It's midnight, she replied. Damn it, out for 12 hours. Killua and Sasuke are gonna kill me for slacking off on my training. Oh. Anyway, it's been 36 hours since you were out for a whole day. My face paled, then said, well, best start digging my grave. Why is that? Oh, I don't know, maybe 'cause the people who trained me will kill me for taking so long from such a minor scratch, I reply. Scratch? That was a huge injury, Recovery Girl yelled. No, it wasn't a big injury, was being headless and limbless, I replied. Child, you need help. Also, it was my quirk that kept you out so long. It heals stuff like this but completely drains your stamina, especially for stuff that big, she said. Well, that would explain me gone for 24 hours but not 36, his face gained a bit of color. Just what training were you subjected to? Recovery Girl asked very concernedly. No, I wasn't subjected, I kept going via my own free will. They reminded me of that every day. They wanted to make sure I was up for that hell. Besides, I had been dealing with hell for 10.5 years before I started training, I explain. Okay, but you need to go to sleep, you need to recover, Recovery Girl stated. No need. Physical energy quirk heal pulse, I said. There, I'm all recovered. Why didn't you do that earlier on the battlefield? Because I had used it to deal with a missing arm so I could continue to show off, and that activated my cooldown. You really are stupid, Recovery Girl said, bonking me on the head with her staff. Sorry, but I need to get home. How, you certainly aren't walking. No, I plan on driving. That's illegal. Not for me, I said, pulling out my license, then said, I need to prepare for my licensing exam tomorrow to get my provisional license. What do you mean your class is not applying for the licensing exam? You're too young, Recovery Girl asked. Class? No, they're a year away from being ready. Me? Yes, why? 'Cause Nizu is trying to turn me into a teacher, student for my class, I explain. What do you mean? She asked. Well, you see, my studies are higher than university level, so is my battle sense, but clearly I didn't use it during the attack since I underestimated them, and my control over my quirk is unrivaled in my class. But if you're asking about the teacher-student deal, that would be me taking over for Aizawa when needed, as well as other teachers if they get hurt during Hero ING, as well as I would attend staff meetings, but the student part means I will still attend all my classes when I'm not teaching, I will still attend as a student for school events, and I will still be class rep, I explain. So, when is your teacher license exam planned for? Tomorrow, after the provisional license exam, Also, I have my supporter's license so I can take over those classes as well. The only class I can't teach is business course students. You're overconfident. Yes, I am, because based on what I've seen from those villains, I'm so ready. Izuku's POV. After my discussion with Recovery Girl, I left and drove home. That night, I trained my speed at implementing my flying Raijin marks. I was able to get it down from 1.5 seconds to 0.25 seconds before I went to bed for a nap. Time skip. Just before class, Aizawa's POV. I heard you needed me, Nizu, I said. Yes, you see, Izuku will be out of class today to take 2 tests he will need for tomorrow and Friday, Nizu explains. For what? I ask, slightly confused. Well, you see, you are going to have the day off to recover tomorrow and Friday, and the one who will be teaching will be Izuku. He is taking his provisional license and teaching license exams today. Wait. What? He's been at UA for a week and a half. He shouldn't be getting his license this early? But also his teaching license? May I ask why? Yes, let me explain. You see, Aizawa, Izuku is more talented and has enough control and training over his quirk to match that of the 3rd year. However, more importantly is it would be impossible to have a substitute teacher, but with your wounds, you can't have the class doing that much. That is why he will be going. In fact, looking at the time he should be starting, Nizu explains. Okay, but it's not my fault if the kid gets hurt, I said, then whispered, just don't get killed, Izuku. Licensing exam. Start Izuku's POV. Okay, let's see the first exam. We have to hit people with ball. Clearly for teamwork purposes most of the classes will stick together, I mutter. That means if I want to pass, more than likely I'll have to take down one of the classes. Hey guys, look at that kid over there, he's muttering his whole strategy. Wait, he thinks he can beat us, huh? Let's show him a lesson, a random student says. Contestants, begin, the microphone states. Suddenly I'm surrounded by kids from Ketsubutsu Academy. Alright everyone, let's show this punk what it means to mess with us. A random student said. I'm good, I say. Beep 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 beep. That's all the students hear before looking behind them to see me, just walking towards the finish box. Student Izuku Lunar has passed the first exam. There is still 1 hour 58 minutes and 37 seconds remaining. How did you pass? You teleported or something, a random student said before getting cut off. Tenami Nakagame and Shiki Makabe's buzzers for failure went off. I only know their names cause that's what the buzzers said their names were. The whole class was in an uproar because a kid was faster than they could track. It looked like he was teleporting. Ha, that's one hell of a quirk. I won't forget you, a student said. Nah, I did that quirkless. I didn't feel like wasting my time with you lot, I responded. Like, I'll believe you kid, no one moves that fast without a quirk, a different student says. Follow my class 2-2 from Ketsubu. If you want proof, I reply. But if you do, you promise a truce with me. If you attack me, I won't promise I'll let you leave unscathed. Okay, my name is Yo Shindo, a student proclaims. After the people who followed me introduced themselves, I introduced myself, then went to my backpack, which was found in a carter. Do any of you have a strength-enhancing quirk? If you do, please try to lift my bag. 2 students go to lift the bag but can't. They try to work together but still can't. This sends the people with me to the uproar. Calm down, now one of you 2 grab the quirk suppression cuffs in the bag, then test it on one of you to make sure it suppresses your quirk, I state. They do what I say, then I tell them to put them on me. Afterward, I move to my backpack and put the 2 students who were trying to use their quirk to lift it and put them where the backpack was, handcuffed. So do you believe me now? But why yes, but how, and also why couldn't they lift it with their quirk? But you can, Shindo asks. Easy, they haven't trained their muscles to carry this 350-ton bag, I reply. The students go wide-eyed, realizing just how much weight that is. Then Shindo speaks up again, saying, You're lifting 700,000 pounds without your quirk? What kind of hellish training did you put yourself through? None of your business, but what I forgot to tell you was that since you 6 came with me, just listen to the stereo. You fool! Shindo was cut off. Ketsubutsu Academy's Yo Shindo passed, the buzzer said. It then continued for the other 5 who were with me. This shocked them all and they all profusely thanked me. It's no problem now. Grab onto me, all of you, I'm just going to teleport us there, I say, breaking the cuffs with brute force. Okay, they all say. Lightning style, flying Raijin, I say, then teleport us all to the gate. I still can't believe we all passed, thanks to you, Shindo said. In short, we waited for the rest of the 110 minutes remaining for the first stage. All the contestants from Ketsubutsu passed except for the 2 I took out. The next exam was a rescue scenario where all the past examinees had to work together. In 5 minutes we had all the patients looked care of, and all the other 127 candidates that passed were trying their best to prove their worth. All right, can all of you who have minor injuries come here? I ask. They all do so, and I ask them if it's okay for me to use my quirk on all of them, healing them. They all replied they would be happy to. Heal pulse, I say as a rush of green aura goes around the group and instantly heals them. My quirk can heal people from the brink of death with a 2-day cooldown, life-threatening but not die in 5 seconds and 24 hours, could lead to life-threatening cases in 18 hours, broken bones in 20 minutes, and anything less with no cooldown, I state. Now will those who have some broken bones, I'm asking your permission to heal you. Yes, they all say. Okay, I respond. I heal them all, but then Gang Orca and a few fake villains arrive, telling us they need to protect the injured from them. I then yell, those with close-range combat quirks come with me, medium-distance quirks you need to stay here and guard them, long-distance quirk users be like snipers guarding the injured. Also I need 5 speed types to be ready to take the injured somewhere else at a moment's notice. I won't be able to heal another batch of people for an hour, so I'll help the close-range fighters. Okay, the candidates respond. 8 speed types go to protect the injured, but eventually, 3 of them leave and join the close-range slaughterhouse. Gang Orca, I say. Izuku Lunar, the kid who broke the record for passing the first stage passing in less than 1.5 minutes. I must say I'm impressed, he responds. Yo, well, I haven't used my battle quirk yet. The last time I did that was to blow the Nomu sky high during the USJ incident, I say. Wait, but only first years went there. Why would you be here if you're a first year? UA only started a week and a half ago for you. He questions. That, oh well, I'm Niza's first and only personal student. I'm taking this exam to take my teaching license exam after this. And also during the last 11 years. Ago till last year I was believed to be quirkless, so I trained myself to be stronger than any strength-type user. In fact, why don't I just show you? I say, pulling out another pair of quirk restraining cuffs and put them on myself, activating them, then grabbed my bag and dropped it. Boom, a crater in the arena appeared, and it was no small one either. In fact, it was probably about 5 meters in diameter. Wow, feels good taking of those 350 tons, but I don't want to cause any casualties, so I'll put it back on, I say, slugging it back on my shoulder, then continued. Oh, and about these cuffs, guess I don't want to hold myself too far back. Snap, that's better. Now let's get started, shall we? Nen ability, full cowling 0.025%, I say, attacking Gang Orca. Within seconds I apprehend Gang Orca, then help my fellow students. After about 10 minutes we rounded them all up before the speakers came on, concluding the exam. When they got the results, out of the 127 students to make it into the second exam, 120 of them passed. The ones who didn't were those who tried to act selfishly to get more glory. I passed with the highest marks on the exam, passing with only 1 point deducted from 100 starting points. Well, that was unexpectedly easy, I say, leaving. Now on to my teacher's exam. Time skip 3 hours later. That teacher's exam was nothing. The teacher's exam began less than an hour ago and I was already leaving. It was too bad. I looked at my watch and saw that it was 12 o'clock while the rest of my class should be eating lunch, getting ready for the hero course. I'll call Nizu and ask if I can teach today. Time skip. 25 minutes later, Aizawa's office. Hey Uncle Sho, don't worry about teaching, I'm covering for you for the rest of the week, I said. You really passed? Yup, I pulled out all 3 of my licenses, then continued. Don't worry Uncle Sho, I can calm down the class myself. Okay, problem child, at least I can take my nap, he said, getting into his sleeping bag. I left the classroom and headed to class to teach. Man, that feels weird saying. Hey Izuku, mind if I tag along? Nizu said. Sure, makes me telling them I'm their teacher more believable, I replied. Afterward, I opened the door and immediately got up and asked, where were you? We heard you got out of the hospital last night. Why weren't you here for class? As a class rep you show dash. I cut him off saying, Now is that any way to treat your substitute teacher? What do you mean? Ida asks. I pull out my licenses. I will be covering for Aizawa until he recovers. Therefore for now I'm no longer your student but your teacher. If you don't believe me, ask Principal Nizu, who has graced being here with me today. Yes, it's true, Izuku will be your substitute. The reason he was absent from morning classes today was that he was getting both his provisional license and his teaching license, Nizu responded. I'm truly sorry for my behavior, Ida said, sitting down. No worries, I would have done the same thing if I was in your shoes, I respond. Like hell, I'm letting a useless nerd dash. Bakugo starts. Useless, huh? I say behind him. You know none of you would be able to pass the provisional license exams at the current rate you're going at. Especially you, Bakugo. Now be quiet and listen because I don't want to have to keep dealing with you, I say. The whole class looks in shock at me as I was able to shut Bakugo up. Now all of you get your hero suits on and meet me at Gym Gamma, I say, activating my hero suit. The whole class just stared at my hero suit. At first, it was in awe, then confusion. What's up? But how did you get the support staff to make your suit do that? Shido-s. Simple really, I did it myself, I said. Then isn't it illegal for you to be wearing it? Ida asks. Nope, not at all, because of this bad boy, I say, showing them my supporter's license. Now get to Gym Gamma now. If you are all not there in the next 5 minutes, I'll start you on my regime. Within the next 5 seconds, all the students were out of the class in the locker rooms. I just teleported to Gym Gamma and waited. We're here, Momo said, breathing. Nice, you beat the timer by 15 seconds, I said. So what are we doing here today? Kaminari asked. Glad you asked. Today we will be pushing you to the limit of your quirks so we can identify strategies to use when you are at a disadvantage, as well as see if I can improve your quirks for a special move, I said, then continued. It's going to seem like hell, but when you're done you will be a force to reckon with during the sports festival in 2 weeks. Speaking of next week, you have off to train for the festival, and the festival will be that Monday you return. I'll be attending the 3rd year's sports festival because of my unfair advantage in the 1st and 2nd year tournaments. Okay, that sounds manly, Kirishima said. You're first, I said. For what, bro? He asked. I want you to harden, then try hardening again, I said. Okay, he said as he tried it. It seems like you can, but it doesn't last for more than a quarter second. Helpful tip: if you sense someone about to land one hell of a hit, harden your second time right as they make contact, and you will feel it until you can hold your second hardening skill for more than 10 minutes at once, I say. Now your turn, Ishido. Call me Mina, Lunar-sensei. Fine, Mina, I want you to try to spew acid, but try imagining it's sticky and acidic, okay? I said, smiling. When she tried it, we found out that it could be sticky but not very acidic. Okay, the reason you were next. I want you and Kirishima to spar. Kirishima, try to trap him with the sticky stuff while making it acidic, while you, Kirishima, try to harden so when you deactivate your quirk the acid falls off and be able to shed within a second while Mina's slugging more acid. Now go, I ordered. Yes sir, they respond. Now I want you to try to make a shield as fast as you can, Momo. Okay, Zuzu, she replied. I'm Lunar-sensei while I'm teaching Momo. Fine, Lunar-sensei. She makes a shield in 3 seconds. I then tell her to try to make a sword as fast as she can, the sword for 8 seconds. Now while I'm working with your partner, try to get your creation of swords to become faster. Okay, she says, leaving. You're up, Ochako, I say. I'm sparring with Momo? Great, this will be unfair, she said. Now your goal against Momo, if you're curious, will be to make her float and have her constantly creating stuff while you try to touch her. But first, the lesson, I want you to try imagining your quirk making everything heavier, for example this sword, I say, grabbing the sword Momo originally made. Okay, she said. It took her a few seconds, but she touched it with her quirk and imagined it doubling in gravity. It worked, but almost immediately she threw up. Now when you spar with Momo, try to make her float while occasionally making things float or get heavier till you can hold making things heavier without spilling your breakfast immediately. This way you can throw off your opponent making things heavier all of a sudden, I say. Izumi, you're up, I said. Okay, she whispered. You've hollowed out, I remarked. Anyways, I want you to use your telekinesis to lift this. I threw one of my weights at her. She tried to stop it and did for a half-second, making it plummet to the ground. I told her that she will be one of 3 that won't have a sparring partner but instead will use this until she can lift things this heavy as that for more than 5 minutes. It's 20 tons, I said as she tried to lift it. Now dash. Me next, nerd, Bakugo said. No, you will be up soon. Well, you would have been up to go after the next person, but for that outrage, you will wait a bit longer. Now Denki, you're up, I said. You're an electric type that fries your brain when you create shocks, so why not borrow the electricity outside, I said, then continued. Try to feel electricity around you and bring it to your hands, then have it surround your hands. Fine. After a few minutes, electricity was covering his hands. I had him open his eyes. I then told him to add a few volts of his own to it that won't fry his brain. He did so. Then I told him to punch me. You sure, dude? Yes, now do it, I replied. Okay, electric strike, he said. I absorbed the damage with my chakra, then told him that unless someone has an electricity tolerance like me, they probably would have been knocked out by that. I then told him now, instead of channeling the electricity from the air, channel it into another person, shocking them. He succeeded, but it took him a while to make a powerful zap from it. Good job. Now, try shortening the time on your own time. For now, wait here. Tokoyami, I said, I want you to use Dark Shadow as a shield around your body. That way, even when it's bright outside, your quirk can protect you while making your hits with your fists stronger. He successfully pulled it off, and now they could break rocks with their punches. Katsuki, you're up, I said. Whatever, nerd. For you, I want you to try and ignite your explosions from somewhere other than your hands. This way you can supercharge your kicks, for example, boosting them to make them hit harder. You go practice this. Once you got a feeling of it, I want you to use it against Tokoyami to see how much stronger your attacks are, as well as test out his strength in defense. Fine, he said. Jaira, you are going to use your jacks to hear when Hagakure throws stuff with you. You will be blindfolded, but this will allow you hear where things are, and that way you don't only rely on your eyes when you can use your jacks to anticipate attacks as well as stop them from hitting you from a blind spot. Hagakure, I can't really improve your quirk, but I recommend trying to lift heavy objects and train hand-to-hand as well as do stamina training so you can strike hard from out of nowhere against your opponents. Yes, sensei, they said. Ida, try switching gears right as you're about to swing your kick, making it fluid, adding more power, but then when you're done, immediately go back down so you can have more stamina and still hit hard. You'll be fighting Todoroki. Todoroki, I want you to try making ice around your fist to block hits as well as pack a harder punch, and as soon as you're done, melt it with your left side so you don't have to go to the hospital, I said. Okay, Lunar-sensei, Ida said robotically. Sure, Todoroki said. Next, Tsu and Hanta. Tsu, you will be avoiding Hanta's tape, making you need to move faster, while Hanta will need to start launching his tape faster if he wants to catch you both, significantly improving your quirks. Hanta says. Okay, Ribbit, Tsu says. Next, Shoji, your skills at locating are top-notch. Now I want you to focus on fighting. You will be going up against Rikadu. However, Rikadu, I want you to try holding back how much stronger you get and see if that will allow you to keep your buffer longer. That way you don't consume your supply of sugar as fast when you don't need to. And Shoji, make them hands and try to make yourself more nimble so you can dodge more and hit from blind spots. Alright, they both say. Aoyama, I want you to see if you can make your laser explode multidirectional. That way against fast opponents they can't advance, halting them, allowing you then to strike them out with your quirk. You will be facing Ojiro. You will need to use that explosion strike to stop his attack from hitting you. Ojiro, you will need to also learn to get faster to take down Aoyama. Oui, sensei, Aoyama said. Okay, Ojiro said. Okay, Koda, I want you to try to become more vocal so you can call to animals far away. Can you do that? I think so, he responded. Okay, good. Time skip, after training. I can barely stand, they all say. Yup, and you'll be doing this for the next 2 days. I already told you it would SCK, but this way you become stronger. I want to see Class 1A only for the last round and the top 19 be Class A for the other 2 events, okay? I said, smiling. Fine, they said, breathing. Now let's go eat, I said. Time skip. End of training on Friday. Alright, I know you're all out of breath, but I want to show you how much you've improved. Ijiro, Mina, when you started, Ijiro would barely be able to harden and unharden in 10 seconds and hold his unbreakable for a quarter second. Now you can hold your unbreakable for 6 minutes. Meaning you could only make one or the other for your acid and it took you a while to SWH. Now you've created a combined one and can use both and SWH in a quarter second, I said. Really that much we changed? I barely noticed, they both said. Momo, when you started it took you 3 seconds to make a shield and 8 seconds for a sword. Now you can create almost anything within a second. Also, you took a while to improvise and ended up always taking more time to make what should be split second, and now you make decisions before they're even presented. And Achiko, when you started you would take a few seconds to make something heavier and barf almost immediately after, even with the small stuff. Now you can do both such as effortlessly, and keep things heavy for a while, making you unpredictable and a force to be reckoned with. Wow, that's a big difference. I didn't even notice how much stronger I got, both of them said. Izumi, you can now hold weights up to 20 tons for 30 minutes, as well as now you can use your enhancement ability while using your telekinesis. You could easily get number 1 hero one day if I wasn't your roadblock. Thanks, Onyachi. I still haven't forgiven you, so you are not allowed to call me that. I snapped, then turned to Kaminari. When we started you would turn stupid after using only a couple of attacks, but now you have a long-ranged attack that you've learned to MST are pulling it off in 2 seconds rather than almost 45 seconds. Also you have your electric fists attack when you're going in the close range department, making you a very flexible fighter. Kaminari. I really have improved, huh? He responded. Fumikage, when you started you relied solely on your quirk, now you've combined it with your own strength and have built up a higher resistance to light, as well as learned how to tank Katsuki's explosions. Katsuki, you've learned how to make explosions come out of other places other than your hands, making you a very nimble fighter. Plus you've learned how to boost your attacks with your explosions, making them 2 maybe even 3 times stronger. Thanks, Lunar-sensei, Fumikage said. Tis, I really am the DM best, Katsuki said. Jiraiya, you used to rely solely on your eyes and rarely on your jacks for anything but attacking. Now you have learned how to find the faintest sound and stop using your eyes when you should use your ears. And Tori, you have gotten a lot faster and stronger and quieter, making it almost impossible to track you and understand where you attack from. Previously you were slow, sloppy, and way loud. We could all hear you moving. We were like that? Yes. Now moving on. Tenya, you used to use up all your stamina in about 5 minutes. You've increased that to over 30, as well as can power up and speed up your kicks mid-kick, making it extremely difficult for your opponent to block. While you Shoto have become a 100x more precise with the ice. You used to only use your ice in a relative attack, always completely changing the landscape and always doing huge damage to your surroundings. Thanks for your wisdom, Lunar-sensei, Tenya said. Yeah, Shoto said. Now, Mezi, you have become significantly stronger and more nimble. From when we started you were predictable in all your movements and relied on pure force to attack. Now you are a lot faster and have decreased the time it takes you to react to something, meaning you rarely suffer hard hits now. Rickety, you used to only hold in sugar for like 3 minutes. Now you can change how much you use up and how fast, meaning with a small boost you can hold it for nearly an hour. Also you can increase and decrease how much strength you add in a moment's notice rather than taking over a minute to SW. Thanks, they said. Tsu, Hanta, when you both started you both were sloppy with your jumps for Tsu and tape shots for you Hanta, yet now you can anticipate where an attack is and avoid it or change your attack before they can change their attack. It's quite the difference. Man, that feels like years ago, Hanta said. Yup, Rib, but I can't believe I was that bad 3 days ago. Now Aoyama, you used to hold your naval laser for 1 second before it hurt. Now you can hold it for 10, as well as make a barrier with your laser, stopping peoples in their tracks. You used to only hope that you could hit an opponent with your beam, while now you know you can hit them. And Ojiro, you've become quite the unpredictable and nimble attacker, not letting any defense or attack stop you. Thanks, insert some French cause I don't know any, Aoyama said. I've made a huge improvement thanks to you, Ojiro said. And finally Koda, you've stopped your stuttering and can also call for help from animals from over 3 kilometers away. You've also become more socially active and aren't scared of bugs anymore. I had a stutter 3 days ago, he said. Now I'd like to thank you all for letting me be your teacher, and I can't wait to see how you do against Class 1B, the general course, support course, and the business course, but I have a feeling the business course won't really participate. Anyway, have a great break and I'll see you during the sports festival. I close. Bye, everybody but Katsuki, Shoto, and Izumi said as they left. 5 minutes later. Are you kidding me? That's how much they improved, Aizawa said. Kid, you're a bigger SLV driver than I am, and until now I've been the biggest SLV driver known to you, eh? I held back on the students, I said. No way. That training was insane. What kind of monster are you? The one that wants to see them win, I said. Oh, I have a feeling they're about to destroy the competition, he replied. Good, then I did my job correctly. Now I must be going home. I want to train as well, I said. Time skip, nighttime. Bus. I looked at my phone to see Momo texted me. I wondered what was up, so I texted her back. Hey Zuzu, what's up? Nothing much, just finished training. Do you want to hang out tomorrow? Sure, where do you want to meet? How about the mall? Okay, how about we meet at 11 a.m.? See you then. Good night. Good night. The week off, third-person POV. Over the next week, Momo hung out a lot and had a lot of fun. Saturday they went shopping. Sunday they didn't hang out but spent their whole day on their phones just talking to each other. On Monday, Izuku trained Momo more about Nin, teaching her about Ren, but then they went to hang out at Izuku's place for dinner. On Tuesday they went and watched a movie together. It was during the movie that Momo was thinking about how much fun she was having with her Zuzu, realizing what she thought. She had a light blush but immediately suppressed it, dismissing it as a rogue thought. But over the week she kept having rogue thoughts. Thinking of him as cute, or romantic, or thinking of him as hers. But what really set her over the edge was on the next Saturday they went swimming. She saw his rock-hard 8-pack, toned muscles, and innocent smile. That sent her straight to a nosebleed. He checked if she was okay and she responded that she was, and afterward Izuku cannonballed into the pool and made half the pool's water fall out because he forgot to take off his wrist weights in the morning. After he profusely apologized, they were allowed to stay but were on extremely thin ice. On Izuku's side, it wasn't much better. He started to think of embarrassing things. On Monday when they were talking out over dinner, he started to stare at her smile, thinking about how cute it was. He caught himself before Momo did and tried to forget about it. On Tuesday it wasn't much better because at one point they were holding hands and inside Izuku thought it was heaven. When they went to lunch on Thursday that week, she was in a skirt and shirt that almost looked a little tight and that almost made him start to nosebleed. But the worst was on Saturday. He saw Momo's two-piece swimsuit. He saw her stomach and smooth skin and her hair down for once in his life and almost immediately started blushing and started to get a nosebleed. But when she fell over, he was doing his absolute hardest not to start blushing or get a nosebleed while making sure Momo was okay. When he was apologizing to the pool staff, he tried his best to make sure he didn't embarrass himself more. Monday, right before the sports festival, Momo's POV. I wonder if Zuzu will still be RT dash, she thought, but then Aizawa walked in perfectly fine with no bandages. Guess not, that's a shame. Now today is the sports festival for first years. Now because of Lunar Sensei went overboard on how much he trained you, I'm just going to warn you now, don't go overboard. We don't want any unnecessary injuries as well as too big of a shutout. Aizawa said. Really, we have to hold back, Mina complained. So unmanly, Kirishima said. I wasn't done. Now that I've said that if any of you get placed below another student from a different class, I'll have Izuku go all out on you. And if you weren't aware, he was going soft on you when he was training you, Aizawa said. Okay, sir, the class and me said, clearly scared of what Izuku's all-out would be. Start of the sports festival. Momo POV. Hello everybody, Present Mike said from his stand. Today is the launch of the sports festival. Our referee for this year's first year's competition is Midden. Wait, hold on folks, the referee has changed and will be Class 1A's very own Izuku Lunar. Wait, what? Zuzu is the ref? I don't think I can take this. Suddenly the whole crowd goes quite in confusion, wondering how one of the should-be contenders is the ref and why he is the ref. Aizawa, can you explain this to me and the audience please? I don't understand how a student got the position as ref? Mike asks. Sure, but just this once. You see, Izuku Lunar out there is Nizu's personal student, and he pushed Izuku to train his mind for once since he is way out of all the other children's league in combat ability. So on Wednesday 2 weeks ago he took his provisional license exam and passed, then took his teacher's license exam and passed. Izuku is the first and probably only student teacher. Before he came he had knowledge beyond a university graduate and had the battle strategy knowledge rivaling Nizu's, so after he got his licenses he took over my class while I recovered. Now Izuku may not look it, but he's a demon when it comes to training people. He hooped my class up so much they rival a second year's. Control and a knack for how to use their quirk, and he did it in 3 classes, and that's not mentioning the fact that he was holding back considerably to make sure the other students at least had a chance. Now as for how he got Ref, Midnight was only going to be Ref because we had no other available teachers, but Midnight's costume and the way she acts is to mature for high school, so now that Izuku can legally be the referee, he will be for today and tomorrow. However, he will be a participant for the 3rd year's sports festival on Wednesday. There is your explanation. I'm going to bed. You heard it here, folks. One of the students is already qualified to be a teacher. So now let me introduce you to the stage Izuku Lunar. Smoke came up, and out of a little tube in the middle of the stage Izuku came up. I still can't believe how strong he is. Then Zuzu started walking to the microphone on stage. Hello everybody, my name is Izuku Lunar. Now I would be the one to give the opening speech because of my placement during the entrance exams. However, I am the referee and not a contestant, so that honor will go to Class 1A's Katsuki Bakugo, who scored 2nd on the entrance exam. So without further ado, give it up for Katsuki Bakugo. Zuzu said, as much as it feels demoting knowing that you're the judge, nerd, I know that you definitely deserve it, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna hold back. I'm gonna win this thing, and that's final. Bakugo said. The crowd gave boos to Bakugo because they thought he had an inflated ego. I knew he did, but it wasn't misplaced. In our class, the strongest fighters were Bakugo, Todoroki, and Zuzu. No, that's wrong. Stop demoting yourself. You placed higher than him. Now for the first activity we will be doing. Zuzu started as he spun the wheel, an obstacle course. The competition has been chosen. Runners to your position. Immediately everyone scurried to the edge of the area and got ready to start. I know Todoroki is probably going to freeze the start, so I secretly made a protective device. Go, Zuzu yelled. Immediately Todoroki froze the floor, and it seems to have caught everyone but Class 1A. Everyone in my class was prepared. Nice. I made booster boots, which was a recent invention made to make people move a lot faster. It never reached the public, but I knew how to make it, so I did. Look at this. It looks like Class 1A takes advantage of Todoroki's trap and uses it to speed past the rest of class. Right now to do. No, not anymore. Todoroki has been passed up by Momo Yaoyorozu from Class 1A and Katsuki Bakugo. Katsuki Bakugo is flying using explosions from his feet and hands to fly forward, while Momo used her quirk to create booster boots and is now racing forwards at a pace as fast as Bakugo. Me and Bakugo stay neck and neck for a few minutes before we run into 5 huge robots. I jump up and behead one and use it as a jumping platform to get ahead, while Bakugo flies over them and continues forward. Momo, Todoroki, and Bakugo clear the first obstacle without breaking a sweat. What's this? Ida has come from behind and passed all 3 with his engine quirk. Present Mike says, okay, I'm neck and neck with Bakugo, with Todoroki still close behind, and Ida just ahead of all 3 of us. I got it. I create a rope and use it to grab Ida, then using the booster boots I then pull on Ida and boost and get ahead of him. Get back here, Four Eyes and Ponytail, Bakugo yells, making slightly bigger explosions to catch up with us. Then Todoroki uses his ice to create a ramp for him to catch up with us. And now the top 4 are nearing the second obstacle, the pitfall, Mike announces. Too easy, I say, then using my creation quirk I create a grappling gun and use it to swing between rocks. Goddamn Aizawa, Lunar, what did you teach your students? Mike asks. The villains taught them how to shorten their reactions and what it means not to hesitate, then we taught them how to make and use what they can in less than 5 seconds, shortening their overall reaction time. And finally, their class rivalry for who's the best pushed them the rest of the way, Zuzu responds. Talk about one hell of a class. The top 4 are nearing the last obstacle. The rest of Class 1A is almost done clearing the second obstacle, while the rest of the classes still haven't made it halfway to the second obstacle. Talk about monsters, Mike said. Thank Lunar for that one. He put them through hell and back and made them over 5x times stronger than they were before he started, and he did it in 3 days, Aizawa said. But I thought you said that he was holding back their training, Mike responds. If I trained them all out, a minimum of 7 would be in the hospital or dead, but those who survived that hell would be nearly 35x stronger, Lunar responded. Before the crowd goes crazy calling him overconfident based on what I've seen, he's being humble with those numbers. He defeated a beast with shock absorption, regeneration, superhuman strength rivaling All Might at his prime, and superhuman speed, and he beat it while showing off, holding back, and saving others. Then there was when he let one of the other two take his arm and stomach for fun, and then he beat the living pulp out of them and they had no other choice but to retreat. Afterward, he made 200 clones and made sure every criminal was put away safely, took care of the injured, and made sure me and 13 got immediate medical attention, then proceeded to tell us that this was only a scratch during part of his training to get into UA in the 10 months before. So if you don't believe that his training is as bad as it sounds, full strength, think again. Hell, I'm scared of the training he could put me through, and for the past 22 years I've been the scariest trainer known in our school. Aizawa finished. Immediately the whole crowd shut up, terrified of what that kid was capable of. Well, if you're done proving your point, it looks like Momo has dropped behind the other three as they are league. What was that explosion in the back that was way more powerful? Would you look at that? Momo rode the explosion and is now in first, Mike announced. And that's it, Momo claims first, Izuku said. Coming in second is Katsuki, in third is Todoroki, fourth is Tenya. After another 45 minutes, the rest of the places got in positions. 5 Izumi Yagi. 6 Hantasiro. 7 Tiu Ajui. 8 Mina Ishido. 9 Rikadu Sato. 10 Mashru Ojiro. 11 Mezu Shoji. 12 Fumikage Tokoyami. 13 Kyokaja. 14 Denki Kaminari. 15 Ochako Uraraka. 16 Ijiro Kirishima. 17 Kuji Koda. 18 Yuga Oyama. 19 Toru Hagakure. 20 Nito Minoma. 21 Itsuka Kendo. 22 Hitoshi Shinso. 42 Pony Tsunatori. Alright, now that we have everyone, it's time for us to see what the next event is, Zuzu said. Man, Izuku's cruel, not even giving the others time to catch their breath. It's a cavalry battle. Class 1A got less time to catch their breath than the time given by spinning the wheel. Present Mike. I know I'm starting to sound cruel, but based on my reaction to the licensing exam plus the fact that all of these students will be targeted because everyone will know their quirk during the exam, putting them at a disadvantage means that UA needs to work even harder to make sure they pass, Zuzu responds. Thanks for the insight. Izuku, could you explain the rules now? Present Mike asks sheepishly. Okay. Well, how it works is that last place is worth 5 points, 41st place is worth 10 points, and so forth to second place, who is worth 205 points, but first place is worth a whopping 10 million points. I instantly felt all the eyes of the contenders on me. Sirbi. Just then Todoroki approaches me. Wanna be on my team? Yes, thank you, I respond. Then Kirishima and Mina come up to me. Can we join your team? Kirishima's. Sure, you three do know I'm worth 10 million points, right? Exactly, we have the hardest job, so if we keep the 10 million then that will show everyone just how strong we are, Mina said. Okay, I respond. Let's think of a strategy, otherwise we're screwed, and that's not manly, Kirishima said. Kirishima, you should be the main horse and hold me up, then Todoroki and Mina use your acid and ice to push us forward, I said. Wow, that's brilliant. You know you're smarter than you give yourself credit for, Mina said. I don't know about that, but I know with our lineup we won't lose. Alright, time's up, get ready, we start in 10, Zuzu starts. Let's get ready, I said. 4.3.2.1 start, Zuzu said. Suddenly 2 teams made from Class 1B and Support Course attack us. Completely falling apart, we take all 8 of their headbands and continue running. After 10 minutes out of the 15 for the competition ended, there were only 5 teams, all with 4 except for 1, and all of the 5 teams having Class 1A only members, and only one of the 5 teams will be cut out. And it won't be Dash. I was cut off of my thinking when Ida grabbed the headband worth 10 million points. And time's up, Zuzu yelled. No, we were eliminated, I didn't grab the right headband, I'm so sorry, I said. Don't worry about it cause we weren't eliminated, Ishido said, holding up 2 headbands. But when? When I was you miss it, I used my sticky acid and attached it to the headbands. I was able to grab 2 of them, but I wasn't able to grab the 10 million pointers, but this way we beat out Ojiro, Kuda, and Hagakure's team, Ishido responded. Thank you so much, you're a lifesaver. And now it's time for our 15-minute intermission, Mike said. During that intermission, I took that time to eat a large quantity of food for extra lipids. This competition will be one of the toughest I'll face. Game face on, now let's go. I walked out to see the other 15 people getting on the stage cement toss made during the intermission. Alright, so this is where we'll fight 1v1, huh? Sounds fun. Now, Izuku says, getting everyone's attention. Time for the matchups. First fight, Tenya Ida vs Fumikage Tokoyami. Second fight, Ochako Uraraka vs Katsuki Bakugo. Third fight, Momo Yaoyorozu vs Hantashiro. Fourth fight, Denki Kaminari vs Yuga Oyama. Fifth fight, Ichiro Kirishima vs Mezu Shoji. Sixth fight, Kyoka Drya vs Tsuyu Ajui. Seventh fight, Shoto Todoroki vs Mina Ishido. Eighth fight, Izumi Yagi vs Rikadu Sato. Now will all but the first fight matchup leave the stadium until it is your turn to fight, Zuzu stated. During the first battle, Tokoyami barely lost, but he passed out first, giving Ida the win. The second match wasn't that fun to watch. Uraraka was destroyed by Bakugo. She could just never get close to Bakugo. Even with her strategy, she was beaten badly. I won my first battle. It took a while as I almost got caught in his tape numerous times. Denki won his fight because of Aoyama's lack of stamina, so he eventually lost. Kirishima won against Shoji because Shoji couldn't hurt Kirishima, and Shoji's punches almost always ended in vain. Tsu beat Jiraiya. She couldn't land a hit because Tsu was always jumping around, over, and behind Jiraiya, so she won with her speed. Todoroki's battle was a lot closer than I expected. Ishido kept melting his ice but lost because of hidden capture with his ice. And Izumi immediately flung Rikadu out of the stadium, not hurting him and just dropping him, winning her the match. During the second round, I'm facing Kaminari. But first was Bakugo and never mind, Bakugo won using Ida's momentum to throw him out of bounds, using his explosions to make sure he would go out of the ring. Now I have to face Kaminari. We both landed a few hits. The thing though is I'm slowly losing to him. He has so much more strength left to fight, so if I want to win this I might have to use a trump card. Recently when I was training on my own, I created a secret weapon that I needed to use. If I wanted to continue I'd have to use it. It's Time's secret move, finger sedatives. I said shooting bullets are of my fingers. Whoa, what was that? Present, Mike called out. Then Kaminari hit the floor, knocked out. I told them that he would wake up in 30 minutes. I moved on, thank goodness. Kirishima made quick work of Tsu. Todoroki struggled to beat Izumi but eventually won by putting himself in place using his ice, then freezing Izumi with everything he had. Now for the first match of the semifinals, Momo Yaoyorozu vs Katsuki Bakugo, Zuzu exclaimed. Now I need to face another weakling. Bakugo started but was punched in the face. Stop inflating your ego and fight. I respond, punching again. He caught it, then said, I'm not inflating it, I just know I'm the hell. Huh, right, you're better than me but can't keep a hold of me. I start, then sternly state, get serious. Lose. Me and Bakugo fought for the next few minutes and I was slowly being pushed out. My sedative bullets didn't work. He just used this explosion to explode his arms so they would break before hitting him. I rushed him and attacked him from all angles, but he was always on guard. That's it. I knew what I needed to do. I used him, then made one of Deku's whites right when he put up his guard, instantly making him slam his wrist to the ground, being able to lift it. Sedative time, I said, knocking him out. And Momo wins, Zuzu cries. Next was Kirishima and Todoroki. Kirishima was able to break all of his ice and his sneak attacks never had any effect. Then Izuku did the impossible. He convinced Todoroki to use his fire, something the whole class couldn't do after trying to talk to him about it. With his fire, the battle raged on and Todoroki was wearing Kirishima down, but if Kirishima makes it to Todoroki, Kirishima will win. After a few minutes of struggling, Todoroki and Kirishima went way past their limits and both fainted at the same time. It turned out they both had bad injuries, so I won the sports festival by default, while Todoroki and Kirishima tied for second. I wasn't too happy because I wanted to prove myself against them, but I knew that if they fought they would be in danger, so I'll have to deal with them later. Time skip. Wednesday 3rd Year's Event 3rd Phase Final for Izuku's POV. The first few events were a breeze. I walked through the first 2 stages with ease. Imagine your own events. What to put then. My first 2 matches were also a breeze. I wasn't even using 10% of my quirkless strength and beat them both. But now I was struggling. I was going 100% on this man named Mirio Togata. Every punch I threw at him he would phase through and then hit me from behind. I see you are worthy of fighting, I said. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm going to need to use more than 0.02% of my strength. Stop lying. If you were only using that little strength, then obviously you wouldn't have made it this far. Oh, but I wasn't kidding, I said, removing my wrist weights, setting them down gently, and these will attest to that. What on the history of quirks was that? Those would be my 45-ton wrist weights, I reply. 45 tons, that's insane, some of the crowd says. He's lying. If they were that heavy then they're wow. They were cut off by the smoke disappearing. Both of the wrist weights created a huge crater in the stadium. What kind of strength quirk is that? A crowd member cried out. That is me. Quirkless, I pointed to the TV where a recording of me starts and says, "Hello everybody. If you're watching this, then one of the applicants forced me to remove my weights. Now look, see, it is clearly 45 tons as you can plainly see. However, I want to point this out." Grabs quirk canceling cuffs and puts them on, activating it now. If it was a quirk letting me lift those, then I wouldn't be able to do this, lifts both wrist weights with ease. Now I'm going to explain. My quirk is energy use, as I call it. It has no official name, but basically I can use all 3 energies our bodies have to increase my ability. Those energies, for those wondering, are my life force as energy, physical energy, and spiritual energy. My life force energy enhances my already powerful strength and stamina. Using it to the full power lets me increase my strength by over 300x. The drawback, of course, is using it too long will really drain me and could leave me comatose for nearly a month. My spiritual energy connects me to the earth and allows me to, when making hand seals, to connect with it, create elemental changes of wind and electricity. My body is non-compatible with anything but fire, but I can't use fire well because my body is barely compatible with it. The drawback of this one will temporarily drain my stamina and strength for a maximum of a week. And finally, my physical energy allows me to increase my regenerative ability, or via touch can transfer it to another, healing them. This part's weakness is that I have an internal timer after I use it that counts down. When it hits 0, I can use it again. However, villains watching this, I have put myself through training that has made me lose my limbs and organs while still having a timer countdown of over 30 hours remaining, so don't think you can kill me so easily. And as proof, grabs phone and shows date and time. Watch proceeds to grab his heart and pull it out. Time lapse clocking 32 hours. See, it has been 32 hours. Shows his phone with time and date. Now I'll heal myself. Heals himself. Now audience, you see, to improve my quirk all I have to do is train myself physically and meditate as well. Physical training boosts my healing ability and my life force ability, but that's only half of life force training. Meditating takes care of the other half as well as improves my spiritual energy power. I'm overpowered, but to get my quirk, I had to train my body to handle being able to be resilient to the energy use. If I unlocked it before I was ready, my healing would have a timer to go for years, my spiritual meter would have to wait decades, and I would be dead in milliseconds of using my life force enhancing ability. In fact, just to get this I had to be able to lift 40,000 pounds or 20 tons on each limb with ease for over 12 hours. That's when my power manifested. However, back then I could barely use my healing for scratches without waiting 12 hours to use it again. I could do one change before being pooped for a month with my spiritual energy, and I could easily die after using my life force for more than 10 minutes. What I am now is because of my intense training regimen I put myself through since I was 4, when I was believed to be quirkless. Back then I was neglected, abused, and depressed. That changed when I ran away and changed my last name from Yagi to Lunar. Yes, I'm telling everybody right now, I was the runaway who ran from my parents only 7 months ago for you guys, but it has been 1 year for me because my parents didn't notice for the first 5 months of my disappearance. That was the level of their neglect. In fact, they still wouldn't have noticed I was missing if it wasn't for one of their ex-friends who was wondering how I was doing. So that's my story. Now if you look down you should see that I just finished the match. The recording ended. When the cameras and crowd looked over to the arena, there was smoke clearing from the wall. When it finally settled, I was standing in the arena and my opponent over inside the walls. After the fight, I healed my opponent and we talked for a while the other two opponents who were Tamaki Amakiji and Nijire Hado. But the first thing he did was stare in shock after the video's revelation sunk in. Then he said, but seriously, you thought you were quirkless until you could carry 20 tons of weight on each of your limbs. Demon, guess I need to revisit the training area. Good luck, dude. Oh, and my name is Mirio Togata. Nice to officially meet you, Izuku Lunar. Likewise, Togatsenbai, I said. Afterwards, we just had some small talk about who we were and what we liked and stuff. I learned a lot from him and leaned that until now they were believed to be the strongest 3 members of UA High. While I told him what my training regime was to get this strong. I told him that I pushed myself to the limit each day, and when I woke up I would see how much I could lift, and once every quarter I would get my top score and make me wear 20% less around during the day those 3 months. After about 20 minutes of small talk, the winner of the match was declared to be Nijires. Afterward, Togata went to go check up on Amakiji to see if he was okay, and I just followed. Hey Maki, how you holding up? Togata said. I am fine. Did you have TTT to be bring him? He replied. Oh, he just followed me. You don't have to be so antisocial, Tamaki, Togata replied. Thesi, Amakiji replied. What's up? I said. Nice to meet you. Togata here has said quite a bit about you in the few minutes we conversed. He told me that you two are quite the pair and are quite powerful. Are really? Gigi guess. He responded. Dude, come on, I know you hate company, but still he isn't that bad, Togata said. What do you mean the D-dude is wearing 45 tons on each limb as we speak, Amakiji replied. Okay, I guess that's true, but I know what it's like to be up against monsters. I did have to suffer through that during elementary school and middle school. I mean, I could stand up to them in middle school, but then I would have to pick a fight with Telik and All Might if I did, I said. Wait a minute. Togata yelled, then calmed down and asked, what do you mean by that? I sighed and said, it goes like this because I was believed to be quirkless. My childhood friend and sister bullied me since I returned from the quirk doctor, but then took it a step further 2 months later and was given a beating to bruises spreading across my body every day. When they started beating me was also around the time both of my parents forgot about my existence, wouldn't let me eat the food that Hei cooked, and stopped taking care of me in general. Now that I think about it, that was the last time I was given something by them other than beatings, and shelter for hurting their pride and joy. Izumi, that means I haven't gotten a present, dinner, clothes, money, a phone, or contacts. So therefore, Amakiji, you don't have to be intimidated by me unless you're a bully, villain, or a terrible person. Sorry B, but how did you survive that HHL? He asked. I wouldn't let myself stoop to their level, so I trained myself to be able to take their abuse without pain, and then trained to be strong enough to file myself to having a strength quirk for my application for UA. Then I trained myself so hard during the last physical test for school I could break all the national records while holding back. That way my parents couldn't hold me back from taking the exams, I said. Demon, no wonder you seem like 2 different people when it comes to training and your personal life. Togata replied. Don't worry about it, I may train people but only to help them awaken and improve their powers. And speaking of Togata, have you ever considered jumping slightly and then permeating through the attack, then striking? For example, if you remember, you phased below the cement to avoid my attack, then popped up to attack. That's when I beat you. Next time try jumping ever so slightly so you can avoid the attack and stay where you are and advance, making you immune to attacks and not always being disoriented for that half second you are. Also both of you call me Izuku when I'm not teaching. Okay, then CC call me Tamaki, Tamaki replied. And me Mirio, Mirio replied. Sounds good Mirio, Tamaki, I said. Well, looks like I have to fight Hado now. Go get her, Mirio responded. Why, Tamaki added. I left, then went to the stage to fight Hado. After a minute Hado appeared and we waited for the last few seconds of the intermission to pass, then got ready to fight. Let's see just how strong you are. Hado called out. Okay, but don't complain when I win, I reply. Hado leaps, no flies into the air and launches some very slow attacks. I avoid them easily, then jump up behind her and try to hit her, but instead she flied up higher. Diamen, making me expose my hero costume like this. Well, Hado, looks like you're getting your aerial battle, I call. Well, Hato, I'm coming to the air to fight. I call flying using my thrusters. How that's not one of your quirk abilities, she replied. I zoomed to her and she tried to fly away, but I was faster and I replied, well, 'cause I built these thrusters, you don't think I wouldn't think of this mishap? I mean, I could have struck you with lightning or used my wind jutsu to track you, but the resulting explosion could kill you and some of the spectators, so this was a smarter option. I punched Nijire, knocking her off balance, then used my cape to capture her, and I flew down and sent her outside the ring, winning the match. You know, you're really tough, I said to her. How you wiped the floor with me, she replied. I did the same with Mirio and the others, but you actually made me use something other than just my strength. That's a feat no one else was able to do. Besides, your quirk is really powerful. But if you want to improve, I would recommend trying to increase the speed of your beams, focus on them wrapping around at double the speed while still emitting the same power, and once you can do that you will be even faster and stronger. I replied. Guess you really are a teacher as well, she sighed, but thanks for the tip, I'll check it out. Also, Mirio and Tamaki seem really fond of you. You three seem to be close, especially with Mirio, I said. The last part made her blush a bit, then she replied, why, we're great friends. Thanks for the compliment, but why are you calling them by their first names? Oh, don't worry, me and Mirio hung out while you two fought. Then when Tamaki lost, Mirio wanted to check up on him, so I just followed and we did some bonding and ended up on a first-name basis. Don't worry, I won't steal your boyfriend. He's not my boyfriend, she yelled, very flustered. Tell that to yourself and him. You both have feelings for each other. It's sad really seeing you both eyeing each other but both being too timid to make a move. Just get your mans, I reply. Clearly distraught and very, very flustered, Hato left the stage and we got ready for the ceremony. Time skip, next day. Today I'm subbing for class 3. I guess they're substitute English and math teachers because Ectoplasm is out for today and Mike got hurt last night during his patrol. Thankfully, I didn't have to take care of the other classes because they were doing hero training today, support training, and Gen Ed was on a field trip. I looked at the roster and saw that I had Hato, Mirio, and Tamaki in my class. So now I had to babysit the big three. Sounds fun. Hello class, I said walking in. I'm your sub, Izuku Lunar, known as Lunar Sensei during class. What's up, Izuku? Mirio called. Who is that? Sorry, I meant Lunar Sensei. He corrected. Don't worry, I know it's hard, especially seeing as I'm technically supposed to be a first year. So today I will be correcting you, I said calmly, then got serious. After today, though, I will not be so lenient. Are we clear? Yes, Sensei, the class responded. Okay, now let's get into the lesson, I said and started to teach.